Welcome to the City of Love. Enjoy a marathon of the Paris project where Homeworthy host Garrow Kedigian invites us on an exciting journey through the complete gut renovation of his new Paris apartment. Garrow offers a personal tour of his space, takes us shopping for fabric and decor, and meets with his contractor and drapery expert, showing us every step of the process as he transforms his dream home into a stunning reality. Enjoy!
I'm Garrow Kedigian, a New Yorker turned Francophile, so in love with the City of Love that I just decided to purchase a pied-à-terre in the heart of Paris. Welcome to Chateau Garrow. It's located in an old building, and the apartment hasn't been touched since the 1970s. It's a complete gem, but it needs some major TLC. So the kitchen, out of all the rooms in this apartment, was actually the scariest space of all. I've invited Homeworthy to join me as I renovate it from top to bottom over the next few months. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to make her absolutely fabulous again. Hopefully, the board is going to approve it. We'll see. I hope you can come along for an inside look into this exciting journey.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy fans, New York City interior designer Garrow Kedigian here. We're here in the 7th arrondissement on Rue de Varenne, across the street from the Musée de Rodin, and I'm working on my new project, my newest apartment, Chateau Garrow II, and I'm so excited to share the renovation of this apartment with you guys. Come, let's take a look. Isn't this amazing? The building dates back to 1890, and it is a classic Parisian gem with amazing proportions and beautiful architecture. The scale of this amazing hallway is what drew me immediately to the building, to the apartment. The walls are paneled and they're just embellished with all this architectural detail, and it's really the scale and the proportion that is just magnificent. Come, let's take a look at the courtyard. Many of the apartments in Paris are internal courtyard facing, just as this one is. And I love that because it gives you a little bit of a buffer from the street. So when I was looking for an apartment, my second apartment in Paris, I really wanted something that was going to be quiet, peaceful, and a little bit of a buffer away from the street, which is exactly what this is. My apartment is actually on the 3rd floor, what we call the 3rd floor, but in France, the ground floor is actually labeled 0, so technically they call my apartment to be 2nd floor, but it's actually called the noble floor. That's where all the aristocracy and the nobility would live, because the buildings in Paris were actually developed before there were elevators. So it was more prestigious to live on a lower floor so you wouldn't have to climb as many stairs. A lot of these courtyards in Paris, you see a lot of variation in the design elements. And some of them are more elaborate and have gardens. Some of them are a little bit simpler, like this one. This is quite simple, but beautifully done. We have some gorgeous plants, the caretaker takes care of. She lovingly takes care of these. This is actually an olive tree, and it lives here all year round. Can you believe it? And I've never not seen this hydrangea in flowering. It's simple, but it's really beautiful. Even the doors to the little garbage bin area are just beautiful. Look at this, gorgeous, beautifully designed. It's all about simplicity, but classical and beautiful design. The bottom of the building has this wonderful coining detail, which is very traditional, but it's also not too overwhelming. So it's actually, continues the flavor of the tranquility of the space. So my apartment is actually through the courtyard in the back. So come, let's take a look. Et voila, here we are on the 2nd floor. 3rd floor for you Americans, because remember, the 1st floor is called 0. Anyway, there's no shortage of drama and detail in this building. And as you can see, look at this amazing canvas artwork on the wall. So the story goes, the seller told me this, that the previous owner of this apartment was actually a museum curator. And somebody brought this amazing canvas to his workroom to be restored. And unfortunately, that patron passed away and had no heirs. And the canvas ended up being with him for many decades. And in the end, he decided to install it in the entrance staircase of his apartment building. And it has been here since, apparently since 1930. Isn't that amazing? It's lovely to be greeted by this when you come home to your beautiful apartment in Paris. So as previously discussed, this is actually the noble floor, la belle étage. This is the floor that was designed for nobility, and hence you have these tremendous ceiling heights. That was the thing that really caught my attention. It was really the volumes of the rooms. Prepare yourselves for drama. But also, I'm warning you, so this apartment had not been touched for over 55 years. The people that I bought it from had not renovated it since the early 70s. So, come on through, you're gonna be shocked. Welcome to Chateau Garrow 2.0. Here we are in the entrance foyer. This space is amazing. It's so dramatic, the ceiling is so tall. I love the quirkiness of this apartment the minute I walked in the door. It just feels like an old chateau, so it was just perfect for me. But this space is actually a little bit of a challenge because it's actually not that big. What gives it really the drama is this 12.5-foot ceiling. That's what I love about this apartment. Every room has a 12.5-foot ceiling, and this gorgeous plaster dental crown molding that goes through the space. Isn't that just majestic? So this room, I really wanted to paint this in a lighter color, only because I remember when I first saw the apartment, the previous owner had the room actually quite dark, and I didn't really understand and appreciate how much natural light the apartment gets. So I think what I'm gonna do, and I'm actually toying around with a couple of different colorways here, either a taupey tone or sort of a gray taupe. Which is actually a little different from my work. But I am going to do the little bit of gilded accents the way that I had in my previous apartment. You guys might remember that fabulous little apartment that I had in the 9th. And then maybe do this fabulous marbleized wallpaper. This is also similar to what I did in the 9th, but bit of a different colorway, a bit of a different scale. You always have to calibrate all your colors and your patterns to the size of your new spaces, of course. Anyway, the thing that I love the most about this entrance foyer are these dramatic doors that lead into the living room. Welcome to my new living room. It is a stunning, gorgeous space. Again, the ceiling heights in here are 12.5 feet high. And the crown molding, oh my God. It has these cherubs, it has dental molding, it has egg and dart, you name it. I am so excited to decorate this room. The room is actually exuding in all sorts of architectural charm and character. The floors are a beautiful herringbone. Of course, we protected them all before the guys started demolitions. And it has a fabulous mantle, this wonderful marble mantle, which is original to the building. This is actually fairly typical in Parisian apartments. You see this all the time. They always put this angled piece of porcelain to make up the difference between the firebox and the mantel legs. But I actually don't really like to see the white there. It looks a little raw, a little unfinished to me. So traditionally in New York, actually, we use black slate. So I think that that's going to look a little bit nicer. But everything else I'm going to definitely keep. This gorgeous brass trim that frames the fireplace mantle, firebox opening, absolutely, we have to keep that. Also, there's this magnificent mirror. It's an over-mantel mirror, and I negotiated that into my purchase price because the old owner wanted to take it with her. Can you believe it? Unfortunately, it's all protected now, but I can show you the mirror that was in the entrance foyer. Look at this. This is also fabulous. Apparently, it was an 18th century mirror, and I am definitely keeping that, and it's going to go in the entrance foyer. And actually, this is a key to narrow spaces like that entrance foyer. The best thing you can do is actually use a mirror to make your room look a little bit wider. The mirror is a great trick for that. People who know my work know that I use a lot of blues. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know. Blue, 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 one of my favorite colors. But this living room, I don't know why, for some reason, the minute I walked in here, I really felt like it would be a turquoise. It has such a vibrant nature. It's just so bright and cheerful and happy. So I really wanted to find a color that has a little bit of energy to it. And I was in the south of France recently, and I love the color of the water, the Mediterranean. So that really is what inspired me for this room. So these are two colors. One is actually Caribbean blue water, fabulous color, and the other one is actually Pacific Ocean blue. I'm sort of between the two, and of course the room will be high gloss because, it's me. And I'm sure you guys have noticed this magnificent landscape that's on the wall behind me. So I've actually thought about this really, really hard and long. And when I first saw the apartment, I did love it, but it's just not what I want for the space. So unfortunately, it's going to have to go. And it's actually not anything special. It's not de Gournay or anything like that. It was actually, if you look at it closely, it's actually not done as well as you'd like it to be. So I think this room is going to be a bright turquoise. The ceiling is going to be this amazing brass color. It's going to be almost like a brassy, all high gloss. The room is really anchored by this amazing Murano glass chandelier. And this is one of the pieces that I actually negotiated into my purchase of the apartment. I loved it so much. It's this wonderful, almost cognac-y glass. It's just lovely. It almost looks like a piece of candy that you could just eat it. So I absolutely had to have it, and I actually think that my brassy color and high gloss on the ceiling is really going to augment its presence for the space. The most dramatic architectural feature of this apartment, and you see it the moment you walk in from the entrance foyer and look into the living room, is this curved glass window wall. Look at this amazing window. It is fabulous. Have you ever seen a living room with a quarter-round window in it? I absolutely love it. And you're looking right into this fabulous courtyard. How am I going to furnish this room? It's a big challenge. You know, I've never really done a room that had just one curved corner in it. But I've decided I'm going to do a fabulous banquette. And I've spent many hours actually preparing a template, which you can see on the floor here. This is actually what I'm designing. Look at this fabulous little number over here. We're going to do tufted. And this room, I really wanted to have a more, almost like a Caribbean blue water. You know, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I think the contrast between that and this fabulous little cognac velvet's going to be smashing. What do you think of that? And then, of course, the most fabulous fringe trim, as usual. So as you're working on your interiors, the most important thing is always to scale your furniture to the size of your room. So I actually spent a lot of time working on this template, which I'm actually going to take home with me. I'm leaving in a couple of days, go back to New York. And I'm going to send this template to my upholstery workroom, only because I wanted this banquette to be just perfectly lined up with the curvature of the window, to feature the curve of the window, and really to stop at the ends where my curtains are going to be. So I'm designing this carpet for the living room. And I've never actually seen a carpet like this before, but I thought about it very carefully. And where I have my curved banquette, I'm going to do a curved corner on this carpet. I think it's going to be very interesting. And then I'm going to repeat in that carpet some of my color details, which I love the contrast of this coppery color against my turquoise wall. So that's the beginnings of the living room. I'm going to take you now into the other spaces. When you have tall ceilings, for me, the most important thing is to make sure you have tall doorway openings. That is why when I saw this apartment, I loved the doors coming into the living room from the entrance foyer. But unfortunately, the other doorways, such as this one that leads from the living room into the dining room, were just regular height doors. It actually is a very, very important architectural detail. When you actually have tall ceilings, when you walk through a doorway opening that is actually tall, that is when your eye notices the height of the ceilings. So this is such a dramatic, example of how a tall doorway opening next to one that was originally a short doorway opening, not for long. We're going to bust this open. We're going to make a pair of doors going into here at the full height to match the door height of the living room. So come on through. We're going to make the living room and the dining room a little bit more symbiotic. As with most French apartments, the rooms are amphithéâtres, so you go room to room, which means that a lot of rooms tend to become circulation corridors. So this dining room, for instance, is actually the hinge pin of the apartment. So you have two doorways coming in, one from the entrance foyer, one from the living room, and then another two doorways going out, one to the library and one to what's going to become a bedroom hallway. But you really have this as Grand Central Station. So when you're designing a space like this, it's important to keep in mind your circulation pattern. So for me, I'm going to push a dining table with a banquette to one side and sort of keep the alleyway through so that one could cross the room to access the living room on one corner or go through to the entrance foyer. The dining room is the most sun-filled room of the apartment. And initially, I thought I would paint this room in a little bit of a darker color, but upon having spent time in the apartment, decided that I really want to paint it a light, bright color. So if you remember my apartment at the Carlisle, I think you guys might have seen the video on Homeworthy, I painted the living room walls in that apartment a yellow. It was a beautiful yellow, sunshiny color. This is a little bit more towards a mustardy tone, and I'm going to trim it out with a very deep, almost midnight blue black, and I think that's going to be very nice, dramatic for the space. Even though it has a dramatic, fabulous ceiling height, which I love, it doesn't have much architectural detail, so I've decided that I would like to add some wall paneling in here. So these are the elevation studies that I've made. When you see on this elevation looking towards the library, you can see where I've drawn in the heights of the original doorways. So in this room, we're really going to dramatize things by elevating the doors and making them pairs of doors and making them go as high up as the doors in the living room, which is going to be magnificent. Also, in the wall paneling, I'm going to incorporate some built-in mirrors. Again, this space is not that wide, and I want to make the space feel a little bit wider. And a really great strategy for anybody that has a narrow, long room is to put actually a large built-in mirror. It's a mirror that basically sits within the panel. It's not decorative, it's part of the architecture, and it becomes almost like another window in the space. I think it's going to be very successful in this room. So the dining table is actually going to go on this wall, shared with the library. We're going to go in there in a minute with the banquette and the table pushed to one side, and then we're going to have the fabulous built-in mirror between the doors, and these are the two doorways. One was going to go into the library, one goes into the bedroom hallway, and then the other two, which is perfectly symmetrical. I actually love the symmetry of this space. I'm a huge fan of architectural symmetry, and I'm going to put a little buffet cabinet along this wall, and it's going to be absolutely stunning. Can't wait. Large scope of work is in the library. You're going to be shocked by the next room. Come on through. The opportunity exists for me to create my own crown molding, which is great, and I can't wait, because I've actually designed something very dramatic. And this room to me is going to be my library. So one of the things that I didn't have in my old apartment was a room where I could work in. And those of you who know me know that I work 24/7. So the room that I work in is the most important to me. The worst part was they built closets that came into this original space. And the closets were actually all built with an 8-foot ceiling. So believe it or not, they gave up 4.5 feet of ceiling space above. So the first moment I bought the apartment, I told my contractor, please go in there and do some demolition so that I could actually see the volumes of the rooms. And that's really important because understanding how you're going to design a room is critical into knowing what your proportions and your dimensions are. So thankfully, this room ended up being an amazing proportion. It has really great volume, wonderful ceiling heights, and as I said, unfortunately, there was no crown molding on the wall that had been preserved from previously. I was hoping we would find it, tucked away in there underneath the drop ceiling, but it wasn't. But we're going to reconfigure the space. We're going to basically put it back to the way it was originally. The wall line, which would be symmetrical on the fireplace mantle, so there was a fireplace mantle here as well. The fireplace mantle in the library, I'm not quite sure about. It was here, and it actually is wooden. It's like a Belection molding, which is not terrible, and I think actually a coat of black paint might make it look much better. But it is a Paris apartment, and you really do yearn for your fabulous marble fireplaces in your Paris apartment. So I might have to do a little shopping expedition in the Paris flea market to find something better. So my strategy is to create a bedroom hallway which is as narrow as possible to create the symmetry of the room around the fireplace. Initially, there was no doorway between the library and the bedroom hallway. So if you imagine there was this long bedroom hallway that came off of the dining room. And I actually think that there's an essential connection to be made between the bedroom hallway and the library. So I realized that this pair of windows and the pair of windows in my bedroom are actually in line with each other. So what I decided to do is to create a perpendicular axis here. So I'm going to create a pair of doors that are centered on the library windows on this side of the room. And then I'm going to create another doorway opening, and believe it or not, this is actually a bearing wall. So I had to hire an engineer, and the building is reviewing it. It's kind of a drama. But the opportunity was perfect because we just went into the Olympic Games, and I closed on the apartment just before the Olympics started. So my contractor had 2 weeks before there was a moratorium on work that could be done in Paris. So he came through and he did all the strategic demolition that I wanted him to do. And then I had the apartment cleaned so that I can come back and take all my measurements. And I met with an engineer and we designed how we're going to structure this opening, and hopefully the board is going to approve it. We'll see. So on the end wall, I'm going to build these 2 bookcase cabinets that will not go all the way to the ceiling. I'm going to do these little pediment caps on top of those, and I'm going to position my desk on that side of the room. And in the foreground area, I'm going to have a little seating area, which is, I love to have that in my office. So whenever I have clients over or friends, we congregate in the little intimate sitting area in the library. This is the one time actually wall-to-wall carpeting is actually a good thing because I want to rip it out, but it gives me an opportunity to have a canvas on the floor. You see, I laid out where my sofa is going to go. Here's my 36-inch mark. Voila. And I know what my sofa is about 90 inches long. Voila, look at that, perfect. You know that I did this before. But it really gives you a good idea to scale the room. And then my desk, I actually have two desks that I'm considering using in this space. And this is the smaller one of the two desks, which I think might be a little bit too small. And the second one is actually 74 inches long. There, that actually might be just the right size for the space. It's 42. This is a great opportunity when you have a raw space like this, and you can actually draw the dimensions of your furniture pieces right on the floor to see the size of the pieces. Yeah, I think it's going to be the 74-inch size. Definitely. This room is actually going to be my red room. All of you that know my work know that I love red, and I have a red library in New York. But I think I actually want one here too. It's going to be a little bit of a different color. I really calibrated it really well, and I can't wait to show you. But here is actually a preview. This is a great red. It has a great vibrancy to it. And I think the trim is going to be a little bit more of this taupey tone. It's very Henri Samuel. Henri Samuel was a fabulous French designer, and he had this magnificent living room, which really inspired this library. So I can't wait to see this room develop and share that with you. So the kitchen, out of all the rooms in this apartment, was actually the scariest space of all. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe that this is in a Parisian apartment, but the kitchen was redone sometime in the early 70s, and that is just screaming all over every square inch of this kitchen. Firstly, they had actually dropped the ceilings in the kitchen. So can you imagine? They gave up 4.5 feet of ceiling height. So the first thing I did when I bought the apartment was I asked the contractor to make a hole in the ceiling just to confirm. And voila, we have 4.5 feet of ceiling space that was covered up for 50 years. Can you believe it? I can't wait. I'm going to design the most exquisite little kitchen in here. The ceiling height was actually here. Can you believe that? They had dropped the ceiling height of the kitchen to this point. So the ceiling of the kitchen was there, and they had given up 4.5 feet. 4.5 feet of ceiling height. Can you believe that? That's insane. That's a whole studio apartment in New York City. The space is actually not that big. But the wall here is actually non-bearing between this room and the primary bathroom, which is adjacent. And I'm actually going to move the wall maybe 8 or 9 inches into the bathroom because the bathroom space is actually very generous. But gaining the ceiling height to me is the most critical part of the architectural transformation of this space. In execution, the concept of having this glass wall that basically faces the primary bathroom wall behind it is a good idea. But in execution, it's terrible, of course. So I'm going to actually do a much prettier design for this. I have my plans, and I would love to share these with you. So if you imagine the back wall of the kitchen, in place of the glass block wall, I'm going to do a beautiful Palladian window. And then flanking that, I'm going to have these dramatic cabinets that go right up to the ceiling line. So imagine 12 foot of ceiling height in a kitchen. That's just super dramatic. And also, as you know, I love to mix materials, so I'm going to do some kind of a delicious, deep, saturated color for the cabinetry, a contrasting color inside the cabinets, and probably brass on the backsplash, something cool and very shiny. Again, the amphithéâtre exists between this room and the kitchen, and it's very open to the kitchen, which is actually not my personal preference. I will have 2 doors that close off the kitchen, but I also want to keep in mind that it will be symbiotic with the dining room. So I always love to design my kitchens to almost look like bar cabinetry and not quite utilitarian kitchens. So I always love to have saturated color, an interesting wallpaper, an upscale material like brass, just to dress it up a bit. So this is actually going to be, next to the library, the second most transformed space of the house. I can't wait to see this one come together. So we're going to have this fabulous Palladian window centered on the wall of the kitchen with flanking cabinetry, and we're going to have the sink that will be centered on that window. I'm going to move the range wall onto the side elevation, and I'm going to have that on its own feature wall with a beautiful hood over it. And then I'm going to move the refrigerator into the corner here. This is actually a doorway that comes in from the little vestibule off the entrance floor. I'm going to close that off. That little vestibule is going to end up becoming a little closet area. And then we'll just enter the kitchen directly from the dining room. I think the layout's going to be great. The primary bedroom space out of all the rooms in the apartment was actually the most chic. It has this fabulous cognac-colored velvet on the walls. You'd almost think that I actually designed it from the scratch. But unfortunately, I tried to keep it, and it's in bad condition. It's been here for over 55 years, and it has some tears in it. So I think I'm unfortunately going to have to take it down. I do want to raise the doorway openings in this space, and you can see how, look how much wall space there is above the doorways. It's just unbelievable. And going back to the concept of architecturally appreciating ceiling height is really appreciated when you walk through a doorway opening. A doorway opening always draws your eye up, and it really allows you to appreciate the scale and the volume of a room. So that's actually a very critical detail for me, and I think that that's going to be a beautiful transformation for this space. I definitely will have my canopy bed in this room. I love my canopy beds, you guys know that, so I'm excited to see that. And we'll see. I haven't really worked out the color palette for this room yet, but we're getting there. So this is the primary bathroom space, and next to the kitchen, this space, I promise you, will be the most transformed apart from the kitchen. The ceiling height, again in here, has been dropped, and there's a 4.5-foot ceiling of drop space above this bathroom. We've already done some exploratory holes to see that space. So I can't wait to get that ceiling up. And again, the efficiency of the space will be much, much better. I'm going to actually reorganize it so that we have a more efficient bathroom. Currently, the toilet sits in its own little space adjacent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the toilet into the foreground area and then give that space that the toilet's in now to the powder room, which is tiny, tiny, tiny currently. So I think that'll be a very nice sequence of space with a beautiful powder room and a little closet vestibule on that side off the entrance foyer. And then I'll center the sink underneath the Palladian window that looks into the kitchen with a beautiful shower in the corner. And then a closet vestibule. I love the idea of having that sequence of space en suite from the bedroom where you walk through and you have a closet area and then a bathroom area. I have that in my apartment at the Carlisle currently. It works perfectly. So I'm sort of going to recreate that. You know, it's always important when you're designing a space for yourself just to think about how you're going to use the space and what works best for you. So this is really going to be custom fitted pour moi. One of the things that made me want to move and get a new apartment was that my old apartment didn't have a guest bedroom. So that was one of the critical, selling points of this apartment, was that it has a guest bedroom that's far at the end of the bedroom hallway, so my guests can really have a private little suite. It's not too big because you don't want to make your guests too comfortable, but it really has a lot of charm. So it has this wonderful curved wall, which I think is just really sweet and dramatic, and an original beautiful marble mantle. This is a gorgeous little fabulous stone fireplace, which of course we're going to keep. And these two closets on either side. There's a closet, it's a nice, decent sized closet on one side, and another closet on the other side, which are symmetrical on the fireplace mantle, which I think is so charming. We are going to expand the guest bathroom space into this other closet space, only because when we eliminated the closets in the hallway of the library, unfortunately, we're taking a little bit of space from the second bathroom. So we're going to create a little bit of an enlarged bathroom into the second closet space. So this is going to be also a little bit of a design challenge, but I can't wait to see it when it's all done. Thank you so much for joining me on this sneak peek tour of my new apartment. As you can see, I've got a lot of work to do, so I'm just going to get back to my desk. There's another segment coming up soon. Keep an eye out for it. So a lot more fun, a lot more progress, lots more to come. Thanks, Homeworthy. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.
I'm Garrow Kedigian, a New Yorker turned Francophile, so in love with the city of love that I just decided to purchase a pied-à-terre in the heart of Paris. Welcome to Chateau Garrow. It's located in an old building, and the apartment hasn't been touched since the 1970s. It's a complete gem, but it needs some major TLC. So the kitchen, out of all the rooms in this apartment, was actually the scariest space of all. I've invited Homeworthy to join me as I renovate it from top to bottom over the next few months. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to make her absolutely fabulous again. Hopefully, the board is going to approve it. We'll see. I hope you can come along for an inside look into this exciting journey.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey, Homeworthy fans, New York City interior designer Garrow Kedigian here. We're back in Paris and we are working on shopping for my new apartment, Chateau Garrow 2.0. The best part of shopping in Paris is that all the showrooms are dispersed throughout the city, so you can actually be working and doing some tourist things at the same time. So today, you're going to join me in visiting some of my favorite showrooms located here in Paris, starting with the Pierre Frey showroom that is located at the end of the Furstenberg Square. This is one of the most beautiful squares in all of Paris. And then we're going to take a visit over to the Samuel & Sons passementerie trimming showroom, which is one of my favorites in Paris, followed by a visit to Yvonne Royer's gallery. Yvonne, you might remember, was one of the antique dealers that has a fabulous little booth in the Paris flea markets. When Homeworthy followed me in the Paris flea markets, we went to visit him. He also has a brilliant little shop located here in the city. So, come, let's take a look. Our first stop is Pierre Frey. Although shopping in Paris is a real treat, I always tell my clients to always come prepared. I always carry my tote bag and I always have my plans, and I'm ready on a mission. I have a list of things I'm shopping for. Today, we're shopping for this fabulous little banquette which I'm making for my living room. If you guys remember, I gave you a little sneak peek of my furniture plan in my living room. If you remember that extraordinary curved window that we have in the living room, I'm building a little custom banquette. And I'm searching for the perfect fabric for it, specifically for pillows. This is the most fun showroom. It's very intimate, it's very quaint, and I love the way the fabrics are displayed here. It really is like working from home. It has just a beautiful, cozy little feeling. I'm going through some of the velvets here. Some of the Pierre Frey velvets are some of my favorites. I'm searching for two velvets. One for the main banquettes that I'm going to design around the fireplace in my living room, and the second will be for that curved banquette that I'm looking for in the window area. I've already sort of settled on the colors that I want. I'm really looking for a beautiful canary sort of yellow, and I think I found it. Generally, we like to get samples of everything because, you know, it's important to take them back to the apartment and see how they look in the space. These are just delicious. You can just eat these velvets. They're so yummy. So I'm trying to calibrate the color palette for my living room. I'm thinking the room is actually going to be this wonderful teal color. If you remember the previous episode, the first episode where we walked through, we were talking about painting the walls a bright, brilliant turquoise. And I think that the yellow and also this wonderful sort of rusty red, cognac-y red color will be a great accent up against that. I think my living room is in pretty good shape. I just need to find some fabulous fabrics for the pillows. Oof. Those of you who know my work know that I love the Greek key. And look at this perfect fabric that I have found. I think this has to be pillows on my sofa. What do you think? Indoor-outdoor fabrics are calibrated for outdoor use, but of course you can use them indoors. I tend to find that their color palettes are very brilliant, and I kind of love using them in the inside because they really give you a punch, especially on pillows. And besides, they're more durable, especially if you're serving red wine. Love that. It's fabulous. Beautiful fabrics. Fresh and fun. Love that. I'm not a big green person, but I think this one might need a home in my home. Okay, so I think I'm ready. It's kind of like the best part when you get the fabric samples, so when you hand in the little pad and you ask them for the fabric swatches. It's like Christmas. Est-ce que je vais avoir des échantillons, s'il vous plaît? Merci.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Ça va très bien.
Bien.
Vous avez aussi celui-ci, peut-être, qui pourrait vous
Oui,
intéresser.
oh,
qui est un
j'aime ça.
velours de mohair
Ah oui,
qui est
c'est
magnifique.
excellent, oui, magnifique. Oui,
Oui.
s'il vous plaît.
Oui, bien
je
sûr,
vais
je le
prendre.
rajoute.
I love how they know my style here. They make great suggestions. These are just magnificent. I think the yellow one's the winner. Sunshine. How great is that? Oh, the fabric room. This is where they keep all the samples. It's like the Mecca. Madame, est-ce que je peux avoir celui-là aussi, s'il vous plaît?
Bien sûr.
C'est magnifique
Alors,
celui-là.
magnifique
Ouais.
avec la trame striée.
Oui, oh, c'est vraiment
30,
spécial. Oui,
Le 27,
oui,
c'est bien ça.
oui, merci.
Alors,
Ah, oui.
il me manque un échantillon,
OK.
mais que
Oui.
je peux vous envoyer si
Oui,
vous
ah,
voulez.
vraiment,
Bien
oui,
sûr.
oui, 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 certainement.
Voilà la palette,
Excellent.
avec un bleu.
Oui, parce
C'est
que
bien,
ça, c'est
ça
c'est
contraste.
représente le bleu des murs
Ah,
pour
d'accord.
la chambre.
Du coup,
ça
ça
va
fait
être
un
comme
joli
ça.
contraste.
Exact, exact.
Exactement.
Et ça va être le tapis.
D'accord.
Et puis ça, les deux banquettes vont être en jaune.
Oui.
Et puis on va
Faites des
avoir...
petits rappels après.
Oui, exact. Ah, ça va être merveilleux.
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 Est-ce que je vous montre un autre petit velours de mohair
Oui,
qui est
pourquoi
juste
pas.
incroyable, qui est
Ah
le
oui.
Teddy, avec
Oui.
un poil très
Parfait,
joli, magnifique.
parfait. Oui, merci.
Je n'ai pas de jaune, mais en revanche,
Ah
vous
oui,
avez
j'aime
cette
beaucoup
couleur
cette couleur-là.
qui est
Oui,
très vibrante.
oui, oui, c'est
Vous voyez,
magnifique.
qui est
oui.
magnifique.
Oui, s'il vous plaît, un
Bien
échantillon
sûr.
pour ça.
Et donc le 13.
Oui, bonjour, Hassan, je dérange chez la bébé.
Quand même
Ah,
une lumière
c'est magnifique.
et un fil, hein,
Oui,
une
le
hauteur
couleur,
de
c'est
fil.
c'est magnifique.
Juste
Oui,
incroyable.
c'est parfait. C'est
Et,
parfait.
et ça se
avec-
marie très bien.
Oui, look at
C'est le
that.
contraste qui est intéressant
Fabulous.
de la fibre.
We see Chateau Garrow coming together.
Oui, perfect. Voilà.
So if you guys remember, the living room has a beautiful curved wall, and we were designing a custom carpet that's basically going to follow the perimeter, the circular curvature of the room. And some of these colors are just going to be perfect on top of this beautiful carpet we're designing. Can't wait. Merci
Voici vos
bien.
échantillons.
Thank you
Merci
so
beaucoup.
much. Now that we're armed with our fabulous fabric samples from Pure Fray, we're off to our next stop. We're going to go to Samuel & Sons. Oh yeah, that's so funny. You're right there.
J'ai tout déchargé dans le hall d'entrée.
Ok.
Voilà.
Ok, parfait.
Donc
Est-ce que
là-
vous pouvez stationner? On
Oui.
fait la vidéo maintenant pour le deuxième épisode. She's my curtain lady. So here I am. This is how Paris is just a little village, right? So here I am in front of the Pure Fray showroom, and my curtain lady happens to drive right by. And I'm like, oh, bonjour, how are you doing? It's like a little village here. Generally, I love to walk everywhere in Paris. Who doesn't, right? That's probably my favorite thing to do in all of this entire city is just to stroll. But when you're on a mission like I am today, it's actually a little bit more efficient to take a taxi. So here we are in the second node of design in Paris on Rue de Maille, and there are a lot of beautiful little shops here. It's just down the street from Place de la Victoire, which is actually a great little location in the second. And one of my favorite shops is actually Samuel & Sons, right here. In decorating, trim work is actually like gilding the lily. It's really special. It's the cream on top of the pie. And I love to use all the fringes and the tapes and all the wonderful contrasting welt. So come and just take a look. Bonjour. It's like being in design heaven. This is an endless showroom of beautiful trims, one of my favorites. So, I am on a mission. So I have brought my plans, and we're going to focus on what we need to do.
Good morning, sir. How can I help?
Bonjour, how are you? How's it going? So today I'm actually I'm working on my new apartment in Paris, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. We're having Homeworthy follow me on the renovation of my new apartment.
Great.
And I'm working on my living room right now, and I've designed a curved banquette, a lovely little banquette sofa. And what I'm really looking for is a fabulous trim to go with my fabric. So I've actually,
Fabric with you.
yes, voila. It's a delicious, sort of like a cognac-y, rusty red velvet. And this is sort of the idea for the room. I have a beautiful carpet that I'm having made, sort of in the same color palette, but I want to have a bit of a rustic bullion fringe, something
Right.
very, a little bit raw, long, a nice thick fringe.
We have what you need.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. They have everything here. So let's take a look.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to follow me downstairs?
Absolutely.
Shall we take that with us?
Yes, let's go. I love how it's all like organized in terms of color.
It's easier when
and theme.
when you need to match your fabric.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So show me what you have. Let's see.
Yes, sure.
Let's see what
All
we
the
have.
bullion fringes are here.
Yep.
Not hidden, but the other way. Here they are. So they are organized by color.
This
like
really is
all
my
the
heaven.
products.
Bullion fringe. I love it. It's
So
fantastic.
if you want the more raw ones, they would be here,
Mm.
roughly.
I'm loving what I'm seeing here. This is fabulous. Ooh la la. Look at this. This is fantastic. Oh, I love it. Love it. How gorgeous is that? Wouldn't that be perfect in my living room? I think so. Must have. Est-ce que je peux avoir un chantillon, s'il vous plaît? This is absolutely exquisite. This is actually a silk velvet gaufrage on a tape trim. I can't even imagine where I would use this, but gives me ideas. That's one of the things I love so much about coming to a trim shop like this. It really gives you such inspiration, not only for color, but for texture, for pattern. You can use all of these little trims and tapes on things like pillows. You don't have to use it on curtains. You can use it on upholstery and do little borders. It's a great little trick to do a little bit of layering on your design work. But my favorite is actually the fringe trim. So fringe trim, when I used to work for William Hodgins in Boston, he used to use fringe trim all the time. And he really loved the very thick bullion fringe trim. And we used to use a lot of the fringes that were from Samuel & Son. I just still love them, and I use them a lot. So you see them in my design work. This one in particular speaks to me because it has such a great raw effect. You know, I love contrasts in design. Fringe trimming for me is actually gilding the lily. So what I like to do in this instance is actually find a trim that's actually quite raw, and it'll be a nice contrast to what you would expect to see on a trim detail. So I have this very fine velvet on my banquette, and I'm going to trim it out with this fabulous raw, big, thick bullion fringe. I think it's a great contrast. It adds a nice layer to the room. Oh, yes.
Colors are not
Oh, wow.
perfect,
Beautiful,
perfectly
though.
matched to your fabrics. but
Gorgeous. I love this. Oh, it's very nice, actually. Do you have one in blue? Do you have any blue?
Yeah, we might
Maybe in a
have.
turquoisey color.
This is the latest collection from our sides. Not this one, the other one, sorry.
Oh, gosh, I love that. I love this. I love this.
This one.
That's
So
fantastic.
we have this in blue, and
Fabulous.
the other one. Yes, it does exist in blue.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, my goodness. This is beautiful. And also, I just saw something very delicious here, too.
Yes, this one is really lovely as well.
Wow. Maybe I'll do this. Can you give me a sample
Yeah,
of that
sure,
one?
of course.
Yeah.
Let me write this down.
The best part of design is sometimes you think you know what you want, but then you come exploring for some fabric and trim and you discover something unexpectedly that catches your attention and gives you some inspiration. So I'm finding some wonderful trims here, things that I hadn't thought of that I might use in the apartment. This chevron, it's fabulous.
Would
The
you like this one?
gaufrage velvet, yes, love it, thank you. Would do that one, and then I would do this one. This
This one,
one,
yes,
I
I wrote
love
it down
this. Look
already.
how beautiful this is, actually. That's almost the color of my carpet. That's fabulous, yes, love that. Yes, and maybe the Greek key in the blue.
Yeah.
It's always, I encourage my clients to always get more samples than not, because even though you think you know what you want, sometimes when you take some fabric samples or some trim samples back to the project that you're working on, you might surprise yourself and have some happy accidents. Sorry, I made a mess of your showroom.
It's all right, no problem. This is what we're here for.
Well, we are a kid in a candy shop as a designer, like I am.
That's it.
Visiting showrooms is actually a real treat. So I think we've had a very successful morning with our first 2 stops at Pierre Frey and now at Samuel & Sons. And now I have all my fabrics and my trim that I want for my new apartment. The next stop, we're going to go see one of my very favorite antique dealers, Yvon Royer. And we're going to head over to the 9th, where he has a fabulous little gallery. We all have this way. We're going to get on the cab and we're going to go to the next stop. Come on, come on. On y va, on y va. We're back in my old neighborhood. We're actually coming back to the 9th, where my old original apartment was. And Yvon Royer actually has a gallery 1 block away from where my apartment was. Ironically, I met him because he has a little booth in the Paris flea market. You guys might remember back when we did the Homeworthy tour, when we walked through Paris flea markets, we had a long conversation with Yvon, and he's a real character. And one day we were purchasing some pieces from him, and he mentioned that he had a gallery in the city. And I said, "Oh, where's your gallery?" And he gave me the address, and I couldn't believe it. It was literally a block away from where my apartment was. So, of course, I had to go visit him quite often. And I bought a lot of things from him over the years, and he is a real character, and he has a great eye. I think you're going to love his stuff. He has a mid-century modern flair and very interesting pieces. So I'm excited for you guys to see one of my best sources in Paris. Voilà!
Bonjour.
Yvan, bonjour, ça va?
Ça va bien et toi?
Nice to see you. How are you? How are you?
Fine.
So we're here to visit Yvan Royer. His is the most beautiful
Voilà.
boutique gallery here in the 9th arrondissement. Right a block away from where I used to live.
Comme disent les vieilles dames, vous n'avez pas pignon sur rue, monsieur, il faut sonner pour rentrer chez vous. Oui, il faut sonner.
You have to ring the buzzer. J'étais là juste pour quelques minutes, c'était fou. I was not there very long.
Non.
But
C'était pas...
mais j'ai acheté des pilastres. Je te
oui,
montre.
tu m'as montré les pilastres.
Ah oui?
Et la
Est-ce que
cheminée,
vous
tu l'as
avez
acheté?
vu? Oui, cheminée, j'ai acheté.
Bien. Ça, c'est bien.
Et
Ça, c'est
I
bien,
bought
ce que t'as acheté.
these beautiful pilasters. I'll show you. They're really nice. I think I showed them to you already.
Ah oui, c'est bien les pilastres, oui.
Oui, not bad, right? Like.
Et t'as acheté la corniche aussi?
Non, pas la corniche.
Juste les pilastres.
Juste les pilastres. Neuf. Et
Neuf?
je vais mettre.
2,90 m?
Oui, c'est vraiment.
C'est bien.
C'est parfait. So I'm going to make them in the dining room.
In the dining room.
On the walls, all the way around the dining room.
Oh, wow.
It'll be very nice. Like
Yes,
here, all the way around, right? I think it'll be very successful. So I'm just showing Yvonne my apartment where I just purchased from the Paris flea market this weekend some fabulous pilasters. I'm going to use them in the dining room of my new apartment. I can't wait. But I'm actually here just to show Yvonne my furniture plan, as every good designer always travels with their furniture plan, and they have the floor plan drawn to scale.
Ah, c'est bien.
C'est bien, n'est-ce pas?
Ah, ouais.
Mais, so, I have a few important things I need for my living room. Being one, a round coffee table for the... J'ai un banquette que je fais.
Que tu as fait faire, oui, tu m'as dit ça.
Oui, ça c'est la banquette.
Ouais. Bien.
On
a 3,
oui, 3. Oui, exactement, exact. Et ça c'est le tissu.
C'est joli, écureuil comme ça.
N'est-ce pas?
Ouais, c'est bien.
Ouais, c'est bien. Et puis on va avoir le trim comme ça.
Ouais.
Et j'ai besoin d'un petit table rond. Et vous voyez le tapis pour...
Ouais.
C'est bon, n'est-ce pas?
Ça, c'est le tapis de la... Ah oui, il va être joli, ouais, c'est bien
ouais.
Ça. Il va être comme ça.
Vous savez, c'est inspiré de...
Mais une petite table ronde, pourquoi?
Peut-être en verre. En verre. Ah oui?
Elles sont faciles d'accès.
Les mesures,
oui.
Je veux les mesures.
Il est très grand.
It's very nice.
Ouais,
beautiful. Mid-century modern. Yvonne has the most beautiful mid-century modern furniture here. He has a great eye. He travels all around Europe collecting beautiful pieces that he brings into his shop here at the gallery, as well as at the Marché aux Puces. Alors, as I need to find a few things for my apartment, I'm looking for a giant mirror over the fireplace mantle, which I showed you a picture of. A round coffee table front of the...
I'm thinking of... I'm thinking
something mid-century would be great.
Mid-century?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Jean Sen. You know, Jean Sen's my favorite designer. I love his work. I love his stuff.
Tables.
And, you know, in my instance, you know, I'm moving from a smaller apartment to a much bigger apartment. And, of course, as a designer, you're a collector. So there are many pieces from my old apartment that I'm planning on bringing over to the new place. But there's a lot of infill to do. So this is part of the magic of doing your new apartment, is trying to thread in some of the things that you had in the past and some of the things that you're going to purchase and put into the new place.
But don't you think that instead of a round table, you could have something a little bit in that spirit, in the spirit of Jean Royer?
Oui, certainement, oui.
It could be,
yes.
It could be this type, not this one. But,
yes.
You know,
so something organic.
Organic.
Oui, I love that idea.
Smaller. But this type, of course, not this one, which have been sold. But in you know, we could. As it is.
I like the idea, yes, the shaped. So I have that big red coffee table, the marble one. I'm going to put that there. And then these are wooden ones that are going to go here. So I would love to find something that's...
Yes, it could be something organic, not round. It would be...
Yeah, organic is fine. I love the idea.
A small of... I can show you the on the book.
Okay, let's see. Oui. Oh, he has a fabulous library of beautiful things. If you're lucky enough, Yvonne will invite you to go back to his little desk area. This is where all the magic happens.
Yes. You can see that.
Oui.
Oh, how friendly.
So I love visiting my antique vendors because not only do they sell furniture, but they also have great ideas. So he's really quite inspired, and actually I had him see my apartment when I first purchased it. He walked through the space, so he's quite familiar with the apartment. He knows quite a bit of what we're doing, but you haven't seen it all demolished yet.
I have an idea of the proportions.
The volumes of the spaces,
yes.
exactly.
You know,
I love that.
was thinking
I think that's a fantastic
like
idea.
Of course, it's very difficult to find, but we can do something
some
in the same spirit.
So
because
look at this.
Round table it's a little bit rough for you.
Severe. Yes.
Severe. And as your sofa will be in this.
Yes.
Not this one, but it could be better.
Yeah.
I think it could be nice. Of course, to find this one is very difficult.
If we can find the right thing, something that's. Although I remember these chairs. I love these chairs. These were in your in your shop at the Pouce. No. Yes. I love these. These are a wonderful proportion.
Yes, it is Italian 1955.
Yeah, I love this.
The interesting thing are the legs. You see the legs?
Yes, I love them.
It's difficult for you. I'm so sorry. And the fabric is by
Décor.
because
Yes.
it has. I bought them in Milano, and
those are really beautiful. Actually.
Yes,
they're almost like done like an animal.
Yes.
It's like it's like a joinery. It's very nice. It's very organic in a way. I love these chairs. They're wonderful. They have a really great personality. Can I sit?
Yes, sure.
Yeah?
Sure.
Ooh, it's very comfortable. I love it.
It is.
Well, I do need some little chairs, so maybe these will be in my living room. On va voir.
Well, but in your living room, you have to remove the fabric.
Oui.
This is not
the black and white.
The black and white, and this is very Chanel inspired.
Yes.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
It's generally the people who like them are the woman of South Park Avenue to put the brassiere.
I love this. I love this floor standing. It's basically a large, big pilaster with an uplighter in it.
And I love it too because it's made of marble.
Yeah,
Porto,
the base is
marble Porto. And
marble
inside, I can show you, we have a special thing which is still existing, which is rare. It is. I don't know if you can see it. Attends. Voilà. Voilà.
Oh,
you
yes,
can
it's
see
like
the mirror.
It's like halophane.
It's a mirror inside.
Wow.
It's
so you get augmented
a sort of mask
light.
made of mirror.
Beautiful. I love that.
And when it has been made in the 30s, the bulbs were very low.
Right.
So we need to have
augment the light.
This is why they
put
made
the mirror. It's fabulous.
With lines, and it reflects the light.
Yes, I love that.
So now
I love reflected light, and I think it would look great with the ceiling heights.
Yes,
the large ceiling heights that I have in my apartment.
I have only one.
Well, I can use one. So je vais faire. I'm going to make a little curved hallway in my entrance foyer, and I was thinking of putting a sculpture pedestal here. But maybe an uplighter could be very interesting on that end of the hallway. No, what do you think of that?
Yes,
right there.
Entrance.
In the entrance, where I've designed these two doorways. One goes towards the powder room, and the other one is the service entrance. So I'm thinking of putting a sculpture pedestal, and this piece could just be perfect for that, because I do like the added benefit of the uplight.
It's in very good shape. Very nice shape. I love it too.
Actually, I want to talk about that tableau aussi, parce que ça c'est mon favori de tout le magasin. I've shown this to 50,000 people. I might have to buy it for myself.
Yes, by Jean Picard Ledoux. I love. It has been made in.
This is a magnificent tableau. Jean Picard Ledoux, who is a very famous artiste. It's hard to come by, right? It's hard to find the small panel because usually his panels are quite large. This is Place de la Concorde, where you can see the Crillon Hotel, Hotel de Marine, right?
Hotel de Marine.
Marine there, yes, and you see the Madeleine over there, and the obelisk in the center.
The colonne de Hittorf.
Oui, I love that.
Hittorf made that in in 1836.
Yes.
Just like when they set up the obelisk.
Oui.
They put it in
Amazing.
1836.
Yeah,
just
love
like
it.
the fountains.
Love it.
All the place has been.
I actually quite love the color tones in it too. It's very much my color palette.
I love these colors.
Yeah. So my dining room is going to be a combination of a yellow and a black. I'm thinking of painting the pilasters black. Could be kind of interesting in there.
So you
Les
remove
pilastres?
you remove all the wallpaper.
Yes.
Yes.
We removed
Yes,
the wallpaper.
yes.
You have to come and see. You have to come and see.
Ah.
But I'm thinking of painting and putting the pilasters and maybe painting the pilasters and maybe this grayish blackish color, so it could be very interesting.
Yes.
So I might have to buy this piece. we'll have to think about this one. I love it.
It's not so big. It's 1 meter
Yeah.
30 on 1 meter
Yeah,
around.
beautiful. Yeah,
It's
les appliques sont très beaux aussi. The
Italian
Yeah.
from the 50s.
Yeah, and these half marble lamps
Marble, yes.
are beautiful as
Marble
well.
of
These are
Carrara.
gorgeous. Yeah,
Yes.
Carrara marble.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Or is it Calcutta? Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Yeah. And the brass bases are beautiful as well. Are these 1980s? No. 50s? 50s?
Oh no! It's a
80s.
contemporary.
Oh, it is contemporary.
Artist who has made that. He's the son of the owner of how do you say where they cut the marble pieces in Carrara.
Ah, wow.
There are a few Italian family who still own
Yes,
this.
yes.
And the son has decided to keep it. But before he was engineer,
Yeah.
and then he was born in this.
He went into
place.
the family business.
Yes, he went to the family business.
Yeah.
And
He started to
tried-
develop furniture.
He decided to create lamps,
That's fabulous.
chandeliers, and
What's his name? What's his name?
Massimo. Don't remember
Yeah.
exactly his name.
It's
but
beautiful.
He doesn't work a lot because he is looking
To make rare
He's
rare
looking
pieces.
about he's looking for the fabric,
Wait.
not the fabric, the plant.
Yeah.
For the family.
Wait.
And when he has
has
a
time.
little bit time,
He's doing it as a
yes.
hobby.
And
He's
I
doing it as a
got
little hobby.
this pair from him.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Love it. I love this bench as well. Tell me about this bench.
Yes.
This is an extraordinary bench. It looks like
completely-
Leleu a little bit.
It looks like Leleu. It's Art Deco, and it's made of. It's made of
Macassar? No.
mahogany.
Mahogany.
mahogany. It's very thick. The wood
Yeah.
they use to make it is so thick. It's incredible.
It's very simple, but it has great detailing.
Yes.
Like this little beaded detail is wonderful. Just the curve, and also the highly polished sheen on it is amazing. I love also the brass
This has been
accents.
restored.
Beautiful.
They were maybe originally they were silvered.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
with
yeah.
time they
Interesting.
lost the silver.
But it's definitely right up my alley.
yes.
I love
And
this.
We can remove the
Ouais, c'est
material if you don't
Pierre
like.
Frey, je pense.
Well,
no?
it's in the taste. Oh, it's silk.
Well, actually, I have a fabulous fabric that I just found today. I might want to take a peek and see how that looks on there. Let's see. If you guys remember today when we were shopping, I found the most fabulous fabric that originally I thought I might use for pillows. But now I'm thinking, instead of pillows,
c'est pas mal.
c'est pas mal, n'est-ce pas? J'adore ça. Ça peut être excellent sur cette...
Ouais.
What do we think of this?
Ah oui, c'est bien.
That could be quite stunning.
Yes.
Isn't that nice?
Ouais.
So I'm
Ça
actually
ça
looking
rajeunit,
for...
ça rajeunit. It gives the piece
Yes.
a young.
Well, also I feel like this is a
younger.
little
It feels
bit more in keeping with the style of the bench. You know, it's very nice. Yeah. I'm thinking of in the entry, where I have my entry, I have a console table, and I want to put a bench underneath the console. So I might...
The console is bigger.
I have to measure.
Oh,
Do you
you
have I have to take the measurements for this.
I do have.
wait.
Yes, I can tell you.
Well-
But I was thinking of this in a room, for example, in a bedroom.
Wait,
to put it.
bed bench.
Bed
Yes.
bench.
Yes, it's perfect for a bed bench.
You have your meter? Oh.
Yes. I'll do a measurement. Okay, so that is
47 inches.
47 and
Yeah, that one's okay. That's
33.
Yeah, that's fine. That measurement's fine because it's nice and shallow. 14 is good. Any designer will tell you the most important thing to have with you is a measuring tape. You have to be able to measure pieces because you get out shopping, you get inspired, you see a piece that you love, but you have to make sure you measure it and make sure that it fits. It's iron, but it's made to look like crocodile.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Porous. You say porous. You don't say crocodile.
You say faux.
Oui. C'est l'imitation du crocodile.
Imitation de crocodile.
In the taste of.
Right. In the manner of.
In the manner of. But
so that's amazing. This is actually. It really looks like leather. I went to go pick it up, and it was very heavy, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's actually iron, and it's iron made to look like crocodile." Isn't that amazing?
Hermes could have done it
with some white. It would be much more expensive.
Your basket.
Picnic. No, it'd be great to put white birch logs in that, right?
Sure. This is
extraordinaire. Extraordinaire.
Dior boutique.
Ah oui. The little stool.
Yes, little.
It's so cute. I love it.
So cute.
It's adorable. It's really cute.
Yes,
I love it. This is right up my alley. I love the little sabot. The little sabot, little brass feet on this piece are called sabot, and it's really, really lovely. So generally, if it had little wheels, you'd call them casters, but because they're just a little foot without the wheel, it's called the sabot. It's a beautiful little bench that he picked up from Chanel? No, from Dior. From the Dior boutique. Fabulous. So one of my very favorite designers of all time is actually Fornasetti, and his work is very, very architectural. And Yvonne has this amazing screen of Fornasetti here, and this screen is actually quite. It's original. It's very old. It's an old one, no?
No, it has been totally restored because when it was originally, it was another. How do you say décor?
Yes. Okay. Another.
This windscreen stayed in a cave so many years.
It was stored.
It was destroyed.
Destroyed. So you restored it.
So we restored it with the wallpaper.
Wow. Oh,
so
interesting.
This is not the.
I see.
To say yes, it was Fornasetti, but I can sell it as a Fornasetti.
I see. It says restored.
An homage at Fornasetti.
Interesting.
But it's nice.
But you see how creative he is. You're a designer. So he found a Fornasetti screen that had been dilapidated because it had been poorly stored, and he gave it new life by covering it in a Fornasetti wallpaper, which is fantastic. I love it.
We couldn't keep it in the condition it was when we found it. So we had to decide. We made that, which is nice.
It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And I
the
love
overlapping
the architecture.
sun. Yeah, I love the architecture. It's beautiful.
And,
beautiful.
It's very heavy, just like a Fornasetti, because the wood has been made by Fornasetti.
Wow.
This is a lamp by Max Ingrand, which is not reedited, which has been made in 1950.
I love this. This is beautiful.
And
beautiful.
With the original glass.
This console table is beautiful too. It's bird's eye maple. Which is a beautiful. It's very hard to come by this, and it looks like somebody's done a really great job veneering it on the bottom shelf. It looks like it's been book matched. You can see the line that they did the book match line. It's a very difficult technique to do a veneer like that. This is 1950s, 60s?
60s, made by Mario Sabot.
Oh, Mario Sabot, he's fabulous,
as editing that.
Very well-known designer.
And they mixed
brass and nickel.
Yes.
And, well, it's actually copper. Sorry, not copper, it's chrome. Chrome and brass. So for all of you at home, everybody is obsessed with matching all their hardware in their house, but it's not necessary to do. I mix my metals all the time, and I think brass and chrome and nickel can all exist in a home. It doesn't have to be all nickel, it doesn't have to be all brass. In fact, when you have a home that's just everything is one finish, it feels a little sterile. So this is actually a testament to that. This is a beautifully layered piece. It has the wood, it has the brass, it has the chrome. It's a wonderful piece of furniture.
I quite agree with the mix. I love
the mirror. The mirror also is beautiful with it. Yeah, this is stunning. This is stunning.
With the console.
It's really beautiful. I love it. I love this with the beveled angular brass. It's stunning. European oak.
Yes.
And it's cerused.
Cerusé.
Cerusé, oui. This is beautiful, actually. In fact, I might use this in my entry.
It's comfortable. Yes,
It's very nice.
In a drawing room.
Wait. See, it's actually very clever how they've done this. So I've had X benches made in the past, and they are quite delicate in this little corner here. When people sit on them, they tend to crack. So this is actually a very interesting little bracket detail that they've put in on the bench, on the legs, to help give it some support. I think that's a great design. And also I love the contrasting little beaded detail along the leg is beautiful, especially the circle, like almost a suggestion of a medallion. It's beautiful.
It could have been made by, it's not.
Yeah.
It could have been made by Jean-Michel Franck.
Ah oui.
Or
Wait.
Kedigian.
Yeah.
Kedigian could have made that too.
Wow,
Yes.
wow. Beautiful.
It's very well done. The
detail work is very well done.
The details are very nice.
Yeah. This is a beautiful piece.
Yes.
So Yvonne, how many years have you been here?
Nearly 20.
20 years. We were only 14 when you got the shop.
No, not exactly 20, because I was there in 2006.
Okay.
So
2006.
2 years.
Oui.
It will be 20.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I love your shop. It's beautiful. I think you have a beautiful eye. And it must come to this shop whenever you're in Paris shopping for furniture. You must stop by. And if you're lucky enough, he'll take you in the back and show you all his secret things on his computer screen. I love that you're passionate about what you do, and I think that's an important. It's true. It's true. You know,
Yes,
some people.
Yes.
The passion has gone out of people's,
Yes.
People's professions, and I think that I'm passionate about what I do, and I
Yes.
feel you're very passionate about what you do, and I think that that's an important part of our business.
We're still excited. by
That's what makes
we
good
do.
design, right? Passion. We have to be passionate.
Yes.
I love his shop.
And I love to work with you.
Oh, merci.
Nice.
So as with great, shopping expeditions, you have to take your measurements, you take tear sheets, and then you have to go back with your measuring tape and measure on your furniture plan and in your space to make sure that everything fits. So Yvonne will email me over all the dimensions of the pieces that I looked at today, and you might see them incorporated into my interior. You must come over and see the progress of work
Sure.
on site. It's amazing. And you guys must come over and see the progress too. Goodbye,
Very
Yvonne.
exciting.
Thank you
Salut.
so much.
Salut.
Salut. À bientôt.
Ciao.
In Paris, you're never short of inspiration, that's for sure. But it's the doors of Paris that really catch my attention. Everyone who knows my work knows that I love saturated color. And this door has just caught my attention for many years. I love this blue color. This blue turquoise color is what inspired my living room at the new apartment. So keep an eye out for it. Isn't it magnificent? I mean, what can I say? Look how gorgeous this is gonna be, right? So my two banquettes by the fireside and the new banquette in the window, and this will be the wall color. Fabulous. Va 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 boom. Delicious. Done. I mean, that's just perfect, isn't it? I can't wait to see these in the space. I think we had a really successful day today, shopping at Pierre Frey, Samuel & Sons, and also visiting my friend Yvonne Horer. You have to keep an eye out for the upcoming episodes where you can see my apartment come to fruition. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
I'm Garrow Kedigian, a New Yorker turned Francophile, so in love with the city of love that I just decided to purchase a pied-à-terre in the heart of Paris. Welcome to Chateau Garrow. It's located in an old building, and the apartment hasn't been touched since the 1970s. It's a complete gem, but it needs some major TLC. So the kitchen, out of all the rooms in this apartment, was actually the scariest space of all. I've invited Homeworthy to join me as I renovate it from top to bottom over the next few months. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to make her absolutely fabulous again. Hopefully, the board is going to approve it. We'll see. I hope you can come along for an inside look into this exciting journey.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy fans, New York City-based interior designer Garrow Kedigian here. Welcome to my apartment in Paris, Chateau Garrow 2.0. Last time, you guys joined me in the shopping expedition where I was picking some fabrics and some fabulous things for my new place. But here we are on site today, and the construction is full on. And I'm meeting with my contractor and my curtain lady, and then I'm gonna give you a quick little masterclass on how I go about doing the design work for my own apartment. Oh, I think I hear my contractor now. Let's go greet him. Bonjour, Edouard. How are you? Entrez, come on in.
Thank you.
So we're here in the living room. This is my contractor, Edouard Kurt. He's fabulous. If you guys remember, he helped me work on my apartment, my previous apartment. He did a great job, and he's very, very technically savvy, and he knows how to read plans. So let's get to it. So when you're working on any project, it is very important that you have a thorough set of plans. That really is the key to a successful renovation. You know, a contractor like Edouard has to have a definitive set of drawings that really illustrates the ideas of what you want. That way he can execute it perfectly. So we're here today and we're actually selecting a few moldings. This is one of my favorite parts of the interior design work. So these dramatic, fabulous plaster crown moldings. Look at this. Et ça, c'est extraordinaire, no? J'aime beaucoup. So Edouard has a great plasterer who was here the other day, and he sent me over these wonderful plaster moldings. If you remember, I had them in my old apartment. So what we're going to do is going to walk through room by room, take a few measurements. There are some existing crown moldings in the space, which of course I'm going to keep, such as the crown molding in this room, which is extraordinary. I love the crown molding in here. But unfortunately, some other rooms, the crown molding was lost. And then that's a problem. So we're going to have to put new crown moldings in. So let's come on through. We're going to look at some of the things that he's accomplished so far. C'est ça, c'est extraordinaire, Edouard.
Ah oui.
C'est vraiment, ça fait une grande différence. So the doorway opening here was actually very low, and we took the opportunity to raise it up higher. And this is actually a huge trick in interior design. When you have huge ceiling heights, it's critical to raise the opening height so that you can actually appreciate the height of the ceiling when you walk through from one room to the next. It made a huge difference. In fact, you can see the opening to the library that they haven't raised yet, and you get the effect of this opening, which is really, really huge, versus one that hasn't been raised yet. The contrast is amazing. My favorite part in design are what I call happy accidents. So I'm going to let you in on a big secret. It's always important to have your set of plans and your drawings, you know, because then you have the direction to give the contractor. But at the same time, you have to leave an open mind. So as you're working on your apartment, sometimes some happy accidents happen. So in this room, this is the dining room. And I originally wanted to outfit the room with wall paneling all the way around, which would be fabulous. But last week, I was shopping at the flea markets, and I came across these pilasters. Take a look at these. Ils sont vraiment extraordinaires, n'est-ce pas? Magnifique, oui. So these pilasters I found actually in one of the booths at the flea market. There were 9 of them. And I immediately grabbed my measuring tape. Measuring tape is your best friend in design. And of course, I measured them, and I decided that in this room, on va faire les pilastres dans les coins. You know, in the corners of the room, I'm going to actually include, instead of these small panels that I had designed on the corners of the rooms, I'm going to put these 8 pilasters all the way around the perimeter of the room. I think it's just going to give the room just the right amount of architecture that the space needs. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait. So I want to get the pilasters to actually touch the crown molding at the top, which is perfect. And that means that the pilasters are actually not as tall as the room, which is great. So I'm going to build these plinths underneath. Edouard's going to build these square plinths that are going to help marry the columns to the room. It's going to be really great. Can't wait. Also, one of the ideas is that we want to keep the pilasters in their raw, configured state because they look so natural. Quand j'ai acheté ça, j'ai pensé que c'était de pierre, non? C'était comme la...
C'est une très jolie bâtiment.
Oui.
C'est une vieille peinture.
Oui, c'est vraiment spécial.
En plâtre.
So even though they're a little dirty, I think if we clean them up a bit, I really don't want to paint them. I think I want to just sort of restore them to the existing finish as closely as possible. It really looks like they could have been original to the space. One of the best things in design for me is when people walk into the room and look at the designer and ask them, was that always there? It's a true testament to good design when something is a bit of a trick. Wow. Magnifique, no? N'est-ce pas? I love it. It's amazing. So working in France is always a bit of a challenge. You know, number one, there's of course the challenge of the centimeters to inches. Also, one of the biggest challenges, of course, is working from New York. You know, thankfully I get up really early in the morning because they're 6 hours ahead of us. So I get up really early and then I start getting emails from Edouard on all these questions. And I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not in my mindset to answer all these questions yet. So the 6-hour time difference and the language barrier, it's a little bit of a challenge. A lot of people ask me why I had done a smaller apartment previously and now I'm working on a bigger apartment. It's really because I didn't know how I was going to be able to work in Paris. And thankfully, I was able to find a great contractor, Edouard. Il est excellent. J'aime beaucoup travailler avec vous. C'est plaisir. So once you make all your contacts and you know your contractor and you can actually lean on him for some design decisions, it's great because sometimes I'll be like, I really need to see that, but I'll leave it up to you. What do you think? And I love that he has a really good eye for design. So that's actually a very important thing in design is that you have a good relationship with your contractor. That's very important. That's the key to a successful project, no? N'est-ce pas?
J'adore travailler avec Garrow. Son design éveille mon sens de l'architecture. On a plusieurs clients qui sont tous très agréables. Et c'est vrai que pour moi c'est assez différent parce que j'ai travaillé sur beaucoup de chantiers de style scandinave. Et là on a un vrai style à l'ancienne, dans le respect des traditions, des vieux artisans et c'est très enrichissant de travailler aux côtés de Garrow.
Ouais, good. Merveille. He thinks he enjoys working with me, which is wonderful. So he loves working with me, which is great. I love working with you too. And we have a few projects going on in Paris right now, and we make the rounds whenever we meet each other. We go to different job sites. And he's very technical, which is what I love. I'm very technical. I love to be very detail-oriented. And all of you that follow me on Instagram know that I am a traditionalist. Even though I use bold color, I love my traditional details, the crown moldings, and all the moldings everywhere. So there's a little bit of a departure from what he's used to doing. So it's a little bit of a learning experience for him too, but it's fun. We make it fun. One of the things you guys might remember about the apartment was that there was a wooden mantle in the library. And I wasn't quite sure I wanted to keep the mantle. So we went back and forth un peu, on discutait pour le cheminée, je ne sais pas ce que je veux, laisser le boiserie ou avoir un nouveau. Mais I found a fabulous mantle in the Paris flea markets this weekend. Vous avez des images? Of course, in any design project, you have to break out your measuring tape. I keep a measuring tape in my pocket all the time. So what I love about it is that it reminds me of the fireplace mantle that was in the living room, the original one, the white one that we have protected. It's a match, no? Et le vendeur, the vendor that I bought it from said that it is Pompadour, the style is Pompadour, and that this period of building would have that kind of mantle. So I'm actually happy, bringing in a piece that would have been original, kind of original,
We can have a check on the measure.
Yeah, yes, exact. Oui. Oh, alors c'est pas très différent.
J'hésite un petit peu entre couper ou casser l'ensemble.
Ok, yeah.
Ici, sur le socle, on veut bien le faire à niveau, at the same level.
Certainement, oui, absolument. There was a brick hearth on the floor in front of the old fireplace. And I would really love to have it flush. Several times, actually, when I stay here this summer, I kick my toe on this thing. J'ai brisé mon pied quelquefois. Ça va mettre mieux, je pense.
Et peut-être plus compact, parce que c'est un petit peu grand.
Oui, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mais d'une pierre qui irait au sol.
Ah, peut-être, oui.
Ouais,
je vais me demander, yeah, c'est bon idée. Mais j'aime beaucoup la plaque en arrière. It comes with this fabulous original, I guess it's a fire screen on the back panel.
J'ai laissé du bois pour faire le feu.
Ah oui, excellent. So the challenge to using a fireplace, a different fireplace from what was there originally, is really fitting it to the opening. So again, I walk around
with my measuring tape everywhere, and of course I measured it, and I wasn't really 100%, so I came back and I said, Edouard, before I buy this mantle, I really need you to take a look at this. This is sort of an odd build out. It's quite deep. Thankfully, the new mantle is pretty deep, but one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take out this brick hearth. It's not original. It was put in probably sometime in the 1970s. The brick actually doesn't match the fire brick on the inside, so I know it's not original. And the advantage will be to build a new hearth, probably in stone, maybe a stone to match the fireplace mantle, and the floor will be flush to it, which is great. So we're looking forward to seeing this mantle come together. So keep a lookout for it in the next episode coming up.
Ok, nous allons pouvoir ajuster la pose de la cheminée pour qu'elle soit bien centrée dans la largeur de la bibliothèque.
Parfait. Yeah, I love that. So Edouard has an excellent idea where he's going to, because the fireplace mantle is 5 centimeters narrower than the original one, he's going to shave off a little bit of the brick from one side, and it's going to help us center the fireplace mantle actually on the library space. So the next part of our tour actually goes off of the concept of trying to center the fireplace on the library. So the library space originally had these closets that were built into the room. I think I explained this when we did our initial tour. And you guys might have seen on Instagram where I did a little sketch to show you the concept of how I'm going to build this wall. So right now, this is all completely removed. The wall was not structural, and we're able to reposition the wall. There were closets that were built into the library, and the library was unusually narrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to reestablish the original wall line. And originally I wanted to do a pair of doors between the library and the bedroom hallway. But I was in the Paris flea markets last week, and look what I found. Wow! Aren't these amazing? So I found a pair of these fabulous columns. They're Corinthian capitals, similar to the pilasters actually that we're using in the dining room. So I really love the language between these columns and the pilasters in the dining room. It's all sort of coming together beautifully. I'd like to have a paint break between the library and the bedroom hallway, so this is the perfect detail. I'm the column on the right, and he's the column on the left. But look how great the opening. Ça va être très bon, l'ouverture, n'est-ce pas? Yeah. So the new door will be centered on this pair of columns, and it'll be centered on the window that's opposite. It's going to be perfection. Can't wait. Ça va être très bon. Oui. So initially, I was a little disappointed to find that there was nothing underneath the wall-to-wall carpeting in this library room. If you remember, underneath this floor, I was hoping to find the original parquet, but it wasn't there, unfortunately. But it actually gives us the opportunity to actually position these columns very securely to the floor, which is great. Now, part of the design of this space is actually to bring in some dramatic architecture. So the library space originally would have been 2 rooms. Somebody at some point took out the wall between the 2 spaces. So the room actually has a grandeur about it. It's much more grand than a lot of other rooms in Paris. So I wanted to pick a fabulous crown molding, and here it is. It is absolutely stunning. Cette moulure-là, c'est vraiment spécial, non? C'est très joli. It's massive. C'est très grand. Et c'est très lourd. Oh my God. Je ne sais pas comment est-ce qu'on va fixer ça sur...
fabrique cette corniche lui-même.
Ouais, yeah.
Le plâtrier fabrique cette corniche lui-même et il vient positionner ces éléments
parfaitement,
plus ou moins à droite ou gauche pour faire une répartition parfaitement égale et que ça soit joli au niveau des coins. Et c'est pas comme une corniche qu'on vient couper et dans ce cas-là, il y a deux médaillons collés. Voilà, c'est très important.
So this is a molding that we use in my old apartment on Notre-Dame de Lorette, in the old apartment, and it was a fabulous crown molding. It has really great scale. And Edouard is explaining to me that you're going to measure the length of the wall, and they're going to adjust the dental details so that there's nothing that's cut at a strange angle. So you're going to lay them out perfectly. So the room will look like it was originally made this way, originally made with this molding. It's going to be fabulous. Wow,
I love it. It's a wow. I'm telling you, I love to use oversized scale moldings. Architecture is so important, especially when you have ceiling heights like this. You really need to pick the molding that has the right personality, the right scale. And this is definitely going to do it. We were able to get 18 inches on this ceiling. It was dropped by 18 inches. And I'm fighting very hard to keep the ceiling as high as possible. So, originalement, vous voudrez faire a faux plafond.
It's better for finishing.
He wanted to do a false dropped ceiling in here so it's better. But I said, no. I want the ceiling to be as high as possible. That's actually what we really, really covet in any interior, to keep the ceilings as high as possible. So it'll affect my high gloss finish un peu. Le lac, ça va être un peu, you know.
Peut-être un peu moins parfait.
Oui, that's fine. Yeah, I would rather give up the precious quality of the high gloss paint for ceiling height. It will still be excellent. You know, only a contractor will know the difference between the false ceiling and the true ceiling height. So the best part of working with a contractor like Edouard in Paris is that he's so well connected, he's so well experienced working with other designers in the city. So he makes introductions to people like Natalie. Bonjour Natalie, ça va? Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Bienvenue, bienvenue. Edouard, thank you so much for making the introduction. So Natalie is a fabulous curtain vendor, upholstery workroom. She works all over Paris, and Edouard made the introduction, and we've been working with her on a few projects, and it's fabulous, and we're going to work on my project now. Here we are in my living room, le salon, le plus spécial fenêtre dans l'appartement. The most special window for me in this whole apartment is this fabulous curved window that I have in the corner of my living room. So it's important to me to get the curtains just right, and Natalie is absolutely the person to help me do this. Alors, je veux que le tissu, ça reste sur le mur. I don't want the fabric to go too much into the glass. So Natalie was just explaining that I might have to replace the curtain rods that are here. Unfortunately, they're not long enough, so we might have to replace them.
Je pense que la tringle n'est pas assez grande pour vraiment laisser de la lumière le plus possible en fait, dans la pièce. Donc, il faut changer la tringle, l'allonger en fait des deux côtés.
Compris, oui.
Et pour que le refoulement en fait du tissu soit sur le mur et pas sur la vitre.
Parfait, parfait. So Natalie is explaining that to accomplish what I'm looking for, I'm going to have to replace the curtain rod, which is fine. I really want the fabric to stack more onto the wall and not into the glass, because this room gets amazing sunlight. If you could just see it on a bright sunny day, you would just appreciate what I'm trying to accomplish here. So, alors, Edouard, can you bring us the ladder, s'il vous plaît? I love the word for ladder in French. It's escabeau. It sounds like escargot, but it's, it's actually escabeau. On mange pas. We don't eat it. We don't eat it. Voilà. Fabulous. Wonderful. These are great curtains.
Yeah.
What do you think? These are Lulu Dike, actually, and I used these in my Kip Space show house in 2016. Those of you who might recall, I did the Napoleon Lounge in the Kip Space show house. And ironically, that we're 1 block away from Napoleon's tomb here, right by the Invalides. So it's very appropriate that we should use these curtains in this room.
Yes.
I love, love, love the yellow. You guys might remember that the color that I'm thinking of painting the living room is a bright turquoise. When we get to my master class, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I love the contrast between a yellow and a turquoise color, so this is going to be fabulous in this room. It's a beautiful strié pattern. Unfortunately, this fabric was discontinued many years ago. I used to use this all the time. I love this fabric. So I bought out all the remaining stock when I did my Kip Space show house for this fabulous yellow. And I love this pleat. Vous voyez ce pleat-là? C'est le Brisby. Le Brisby, c'est ça, exactement. In Brisby. C'est quoi en français?
En français, c'est une tête triple.
Ah oui, triple, yeah, triple pleated and pinched on the top. triple pleated and pinched on the top. That's my preference, actually. When I worked for Mr. Hodgins, I worked for William Hodgins in Boston for 6 years when I first started out in this business, and all of his curtains were all pinch pleated on the top. He just loved how tailored they were. You know, it gives such a tailored look. It's just very nicely done. It's clean, it's more architectural. It's fabulous.
Les rayures gardent aussi cette hauteur.
Oui, exact. Yeah. It really accentuates the stripes. When you have stripes, stripes actually make things look taller. That's why a lot of people wear stripes. It makes them look thinner. Alors, on a un grand challenge ici. We have a big challenge in this room, and Edouard's going to help us. The biggest challenge here is actually the curtain panels are actually not long enough because the ceiling heights in here are 10 million feet. So the great part is j'ai 8 panels. So I have 8 panels of this curtain, and so I have a lot of the fabric. And unfortunately, these current panels are not long enough, but we're going to modify them by taking 8 panels and making 2. And I'm going to use yellow fabric, maybe not this one, maybe something that's a little bit closer to this if we can find something. Si on peut trouver quelque chose qui est plus
similaire.
Oui. Et on va mettre juste un band en dessous et then mettre
un troisième.
Exact, yeah,
Okay.
exact. Ça va être ça encore parce qu'on a 8 panneaux comme ça.
Okay.
Alors je pense que je peux prendre 8 panneaux et faire 2 panneaux avec les 8,
Oui.
mais introduire juste un band. Yeah, exact. Et peut-être le band, ça va être sur le côté aussi.
Ah oui, très bien.
Oui,
Pour
comme un
encadrer,
détail.
en fait.
Oui,
Ouais,
encadré,
très bien.
exact.
Parfait.
So I'm thinking of using a contrasting, well, not really contrasting, but a yellow fabric that would go back to the yellow in the fabric and doing it as a trim piece. So I'll use it as a tape along the seam where the 2 panels are going to be sewn together and on the edging. Why not reuse your own curtain panels? I tell my clients that all the time. It's always fun to actually reinvent fabric that you have from a previous residence, or you had it in a different project. For instance, this was the Kip Space show house that we only used for 1 month in the show house. So why not reuse this beautiful fabric? And I think the fabric is going to be absolutely perfect with what I'm thinking of for the wall color in this space. I'm thinking of a nice bright turquoise, and of course, Edouard is the master of the high gloss lacquered paint. So you have to imagine these walls are going to be delicious and shiny. And then contrasted with the yellow, it's just going to be perfect. On a sunny day, we get tons of light, natural light and sun into this room. So I love incorporating a sunny color, especially onto the curtain fabric. It's perfection.
J'ai apporté les échantillons
excellent.
pour les tringles. Donc
Parfait.
on peut
Est-ce qu'on peut
regarder.
voir? Yeah.
Allez,
Oh, excellent. Great.
justement.
She brought me some samples for the curtain rods. Last time I asked her if she can get me some bronze metal rods. So let's take a look. Let's see.
Alors, le premier.
Oh, c'est très beau. Yeah.
Ouais, je pense que.
Oh,
pardon.
nice. Oh, c'est très beau. Yeah, I like this.
Ça, c'est le premier.
Love it. Looks like
Il s'appelle
bronze.
comment?
Love it. S'appelle Epoxy Café.
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 Ouais, café.
How appropriate in France that you should use a curtain rod called café. N'est-ce pas?
Il est plus
Ça, c'est
brillant,
beau. Oui.
cacao.
Oui, c'est très beau
Peut-être plus
aussi.
lumineux, plus-
Oui, j'aime ça aussi, mais je pense que j'aime le mat.
Le mat.
Le finish, le fini.
Ok.
I think I prefer the matte finish. I think it's nicer.
Ok.
Et est-ce qu'il y a des rideaux qui,
Les anneaux?
un peu plus grands,
Oui.
le diamètre?
Oui,
Ouais.
oui, parce qu'il existe donc soit la taille, ce size 20,
Yeah.
28,
Yeah.
35.
And this is 20? No, this is
yes,
20 millimeters? 25?
Yes, I see.
I would go a little bit more. I think I would go a little thicker. I
Ouais,
like
35,
yeah.
perhaps you
Okay.
want.
Yeah.
And 50, it's possible.
50 is a little big, I think, maybe. But why don't you get samples of both?
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
look.
yeah.
We'll look. But I like this color.
possible.
Cette couleur-là. So café, perfect. Next, we're going to go into the dining room, the salle à manger. Come on through. So, on a trouvé les pilastres
au marché aux puces. I found these amazing pilasters at the flea market, which, you know, I just reviewed with my contractor. And we're going to embellish this room with 8 of the pilasters all around the perimeter. So pour vous, the concern is really at the window. So we have 2 pilasters that are going to flank this window.
Okay.
And if you remember, vous croyez que je voudrais avoir un valance. I was designing a beautiful valance to go.
Comme à Venise.
Oui, n'est-ce pas? C'est exactement. It's exactement Venice. Yeah, it's at the Cipriani actually. It was the Hotel Cipriani. I saw a fabulous valance in the window of my hotel room. I took a picture of it years ago, and I said one day I'm going to use it. And voila, come and take a look. I have changed a little bit of the peak on the bottom. I want to make it a little bit softer. But I think this is going to be very dramatic on this window. So I have fabric that I want to reuse here as well. It's the Missoni fabric. I love that fabric. I bought it many years ago, and I used it in my dining room at the old apartment. And thankfully, in the old apartment, we had 2 windows and 4 panels, and this is a much taller window, but I have 4 panels to do 1 window, so it should work. So this is the color of the walls that I'm proposing in here. It's a beautiful, rich mustardy color, one of my favorites actually. Here's a great trick actually. When you have a sun-filled room, it's always nice to use a sunny color because it will augment the natural light coming into the space. So that's really the strategy here. These curtains are some of my favorites. Again, previously had added to the bottom of these when I used them at the old apartment, and we might have to add to them again. Mais we have 4 panels. On a 4 panels.
Perfect.
Perfect. And on va utiliser.
necessary, yeah.
Ouais, ouais. Excellent. Love it. Can't wait. Alors, merci bien de venir.
Au revoir, Garrow.
Merci bien de venir.
Merci, Garrow.
Excellent.
À bientôt.
J'espère que ça va être fini la semaine prochaine. They're going to finish next week, of course. Bon, merci bien. Merci bien. À bientôt. À bientôt. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Oui. As an architect, it's one of the most important things for me to make sure you have your plans worked out in advance of starting your design work. In fact, it's actually the generator of your design work to have a proper furniture plan, a proper layout plan. I'm trained as an architect, so it comes naturally to me and actually helps me very much when I do the beginning of any project. So I always sit down first and do a furniture plan, and I come up with my elevations and my details, and that really becomes the generator for my design work, and that's a very important part of how I work. So generally, my layout plan is where I begin, and then I always have a concept in my head of where I want to begin in a room such as the living room. But I always tell everybody it is critical to have a holistic approach to design. You cannot design just one room at a time. You have to think about the whole apartment as a symbiotic creature. It all has to come together in a way that, you know, there's a symbiotic relationship between your color palettes room to room. So in this room, when I first saw this beautiful living room, it was full of sun, lots of sunlight, and I wanted to paint it a bright turquoisey blue color because blues are some of my favorite colors. The darker blues tend to not do as well in sun-filled spaces, so I wanted to go this time with a more turquoisey blue. And in contrast, I'm going to paint the ceiling this bright orangey color. So people often ask me on Instagram what color a certain room is, and it's hard to explain to them that I would be doing them a disservice by telling them what the specific color is for a specific room that they've seen, because the important part of designing a color for your space is to actually study a range of a color palette. So if you know you like a blue turquoise color, such as I do for this room, you really have to go out and find a range of the tonalities and look at them in your space. The room is what tells you what the best color is for painting it. Really, it's true, and it's something that people often miss the mark on. So it's great if you're inspired by a color that you want to use, but you have to understand that studying that color on site in your space is critical. So I started with my living room. I studied the various different colors of turquoise. I'm actually going to mix a few colors together, so when we get further along in this process, we're going to do that with the painter. But generally, I tell people that it is very important also to consider colors different times of the day. So when you come into your living room and it's this beautiful sunny day, it's great. You'll be able to judge the color in the sun. But you forget that sometimes, you're out of the apartment during the day most of the time. You're running around, working, whatever, and you're in the apartment at night. So it's critical to also see the colors at night. It's critical also to study the colors when it's gray out, when it's, you want to make sure you don't pick a color that's gonna make the room feel too dreary. That's actually, you run the risk with blues sometimes to make a room feel too dreary. That's why I don't like gray. But anyway, what I always start with is a range of colors, and I've seen what I like. I've taken away the ones that didn't work for me. And then, of course, I start to think about the sequence of the space. This apartment has beautiful hierarchy of space. You go from the living room right into the dining room, and then there's an enfilade from the living room to the dining room and then to the library. So that whole color palette really needs to be thought through in terms of a sequence of space. Originally, I was thinking of painting the dining room the turquoise color, but when I started coming to the apartment and appreciating it for what it did in terms of its natural light, I decided the room that needed to be the turquoise was the living room, because the dining room is the room that has the most sun-filled sunlight. So I'm going to paint the walls of the dining room this brilliant, beautiful sunshine. If you guys remember my Carlisle apartment in New York, I painted it a similar color. This is a little bit different. It's a little different, it's a little bit deeper, but again, I studied the color tones and the palette on site ad nauseum. So it's important to understand that your colors need to have a symbiotic relationship. So in my blue turquoisey room, the ceiling of the living room is actually going to be this beautiful sort of mustardy yellow color. It's different from the color from the dining room. It's always important not to be matchy-matchy. It's better to use colors that are harmonious together and that they become layered. If you actually do a mismatch, it's actually counterintuitive, because actually when you do a color palette, it's often better to pick a color that's close, that works beautifully with the other yellow color, but it's actually not exactly the same. There will be a common thread, of course. They're not touching each other, so this ceiling will sit, apart from this wall. They're not exactly the same color, but they talk to each other. Then, of course, the room off the dining room will be the library. So the library is inspired by me, by a beautiful room that I saw done by a French designer, Henri Samuel. It was actually his own personal dining room. It was the most beautiful tone of a terracotta red. I love red rooms. Some people don't, and that's fine. If you don't like a red room, you don't have to do a red room, but I personally love them. I love the energy that red exudes. It has such great pulse to it, and I love to work in a red room, actually. So you'll remember that my library in New York is actually also red, but it's a different red. So again, I had to study all the reds that I wanted, and I tried to approximate that beautiful living room that inspired me as a young designer by Henri Samuel. It was his own personal living room, and it was mixed with a taupey tone in the trim, which works perfectly with what I'm trying to do here, because this then connects back to my yellow walls of my dining room and to my sort of taupey mustardy ceiling of the living room. So it's always important when you do a design is to keep in mind that you have a holistic, thought given to all the rooms. Even if you wanted to do one room at a time, that's fine, but you should have an overall plan. And an overall plan is the most important detail in any successful design. I had seen a carpet once at auction, and I wanted to buy for a client's apartment. It was a beautiful French 40s carpet that really inspired me. Unfortunately, they never bought it.
But I've always had it in my head, and when I came to design my apartment here in Paris, the curved window wall was really the generator for my inspiration. I said, what can I do with this? And I really thought about that carpet that had a dramatic border to it. So I approached my carpet vendor, and we came up with this design, and I think it looks great. And he made me a strike-off sample. So when you're doing a custom room like this, it's always critical to study your carpet and have a custom strike-off made. It has the exact color that I picked. The ground is perfection. I love it, and it relates beautifully back to my color palette for the rest of the room. And also, I asked the carpet vendor to actually send me a full-size template. And full-size templates always help me because I like to see the scale and the size of something in the room. It became evident to me when I brought it into the space that I felt like the medallion in the center of the carpet is a little small, which is kind of, sort of a funny thing to realize, because on the paper, when they did get the rendering, I thought the medallion looked too big. So when we made the sample, I decided I want to make the medallion actually bigger. So it's very important to study these different scales and study the different sizes within your space. That's critical. For instance, I have this fabulous curved banquette template that I made. This is for the sofa. In the window area, I think you guys might remember last time we were talking about this. So I like to have my upholstery pieces made and fitted custom to the rooms. Sometimes it's critical to break out a measuring tape and really scale something and size it exactly to the space. This banquette fits perfectly between the casing moldings, and it follows the curvature of the window. So I'll actually take this banquette that I made, and I will send it along to the upholstery workroom, and they will use this as the template for the sofa. I think we're almost there. I can't wait. Thank you, Homeworthy, for joining me on this fabulous day where we met the contractor, the curtain lady, and all the beautiful people helping me see my design to fruition. I'm so excited to share with you the next steps, so keep an eye out. Coming up next.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
Hey Homeworthy fans, New York City interior designer Garrow Kedigian here. We're back in Paris checking in on things on my apartment, which is in progress of construction. I'm so excited to share with you all that's going on here today. Now, construction actually takes a lot of time. Everyone in New York keeps asking me, when will your apartment be ready? Well, there's nobody more anxious to see this apartment done than myself, trust me. But before you actually get there, there's a lot of work to do behind the scenes. In an apartment like this, it's really critical to get the infrastructure right, the wiring, the plumbing, all those things. Today, we're gonna meet with the contractor, and we're gonna make some decisions on some moldings and some fun stuff. I can't wait to share it all with you. Let's get started. I'm Garrow Kedigian, a New Yorker turned Francophile, so in love with the city of love that I just decided to purchase a pied-à-terre in the heart of Paris. Welcome to Chateau Garrow. It's located in an old building, and the apartment hasn't been touched since the 1970s. It's a complete gem, but it needs some major TLC. So the kitchen, out of all the rooms in this apartment, was actually the scariest space of all. I've invited Homeworthy to join me as I renovate it from top to bottom over the next few months. It won't be easy, but I'm determined to make her absolutely fabulous again. Hopefully, the board is going to approve it. We'll see. I hope you can come along for an inside look into this exciting journey.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
You guys remember Edouard, my fabulous contractor, where we're here on site and we're working on a bunch of things. So I love that he's so organized. So, in design, it's critical to have a contractor that really gets it. And this guy gets it, let me tell you. He really loves getting into all the moldings, all the colors. He did all these paint samples for me, which is great. And so today he set up everything on a table, which I'm going to take you through and show you all our selections. Everyone that knows my work knows that I'm an architect and I love my moldings. I love architecture. I'm more of a traditional architect. Alors moi, j'aime beaucoup les grands moulures comme ça. So one of the great things about having a huge ceiling height in an apartment like this is that you can actually overscale your moldings. And so these are actually some of the great plasterwork moldings that we're selecting for the various rooms in the apartment. It's very exciting. But first, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the doorway openings, les moulures.
Yeah.
Oui?
Yeah, this one.
Right. So this is actually a Belection molding that we're going to use to frame the doorway openings throughout the apartment. I actually, this is the best part of actually being able to work with a contractor that does everything custom. So they're actually going to cut the molding to a little bit less of a severe profile because I felt like the shadow lines are a little bit heavy. But what I love in French architecture is they always have these plinths at the bottoms of their casing moldings. So in this instance, we're going to end up cutting this plinth off to match and be in alignment with the casing molding, right? So I love to actually detail my window openings almost like doorway openings. In this apartment, especially where the windows go almost to the floor, I'm going to case the molding and have the molding go right to the floor. That way, it'll look like all of these doorways and all the windows match each other throughout the apartment. It's a great detail. So the reason why I selected this molding is actually it is a Belection molding, and it's actually in the spirit of the molding that was here originally. If you look at the profile of this molding, it actually has that Belection OG. So I picked a molding that's a little bit larger because the ceilings are so tall in this apartment, I feel like the architecture could really be beefed up. And I wanted to have something that was a little bit stronger, but I also wanted to be sympathetic to what was here originally. This is actually a molding that was replaced, so it's not original to the building, it was not original to the apartment, so I don't feel bad about replacing it and putting something in that would have been closer to what was here originally. So in this detail here, where the two windows in the living room meet, we're talking about how the casing molding is actually going to be shared. So the way that we're going to do it here is we're going to share the backband molding, which actually works perfectly because there's nothing worse in interior design than having a sliver of paint between two elements in architecture. If there's a small sliver of paint of wall color, I find that to be, it almost looks like a mistake. Whereas this way, we're going to actually bridge the gap between the two windows and make the window feel like it's one entire composition. It's going to be fabulous. So recently, I was actually at the Design Miami show that happened at the Karl Lagerfeld mansion, and I saw these wonderful overdoor panels that they had done here. This is actually like an entablature molding. It's beautifully done. The challenge for me was that the doorways are really tall in this apartment, but I also have a lot of wall space above the doors, and I wanted the doors to be as tall as possible. So when I saw this detail, I was really inspired to do these overdoor panels. And look at the amazing job that the woodworker has done in recreating this detail. It's absolutely amazing.
Et peut-être qu'on pourrait avoir un fond en bois aussi, parce que j'ai l'impression qu'il y a comme une épaisseur de bois à l'intérieur.
Oui, exactement. Ça peut être plus...
un petit peu moins profond.
Exact. Oui.
Ce serait plus joli, non?
Qu'est-ce que je pense, oui. Ouais. Oui, je pense que oui. Ouais.
Peut-être ici.
C'est magnifique, c'est très
Ça va être
bon.
Super, hein?
Oui, super. Mais je vais réduire ça un peu.
Ok, on peut peut-être dessiner.
Faire ça plus haut que possible.
Ouais.
Et on peut choisir. Ça peut être quelque chose de très simple. So I love the detail, it's fabulous. And I'm asking him to actually include a little panel molding that will go in the upper panel above the door instead of it being just square. I think it would be a nice detail. And yeah, on va faire un peu plus comme ça. Oui, we'll build it forward so that the depth. Non.
Ah.
Comme ça.
Avec un fond?
Oui, exact. Comme ça.
Ok,
oui.
Perfect.
C'est bon?
Ouais,
I think that works beautifully. I'm going to recalibrate the cap on the entablature to be a little bit shorter. It's looking a little top heavy. So I'm going to reduce that flat section, maybe reduce it in half. En moitié, peut-être.
D'accord. Ou on laisse un petit peu plus? Bon, la moitié.
La moitié, c'est bon. So look at this magnificent sample that he's made for me. So I'm trying to match the original doors that were here. These are the two original doors in the entrance foyer. And look at this amazing sample that he has made for me. It is almost exactly the same detail. It's really beautiful. I think it matches beautifully. And we're going to use this for all the other doors that we're creating going into the other rooms. C'est magnifique. So essentially, we're going to try and match the doors that are here. These are actually enormous doors. The doorways going into the library and into the dining room are actually going to be narrower. So now we're trying to discuss the proportions and getting the doors just perfect so that they'll be simpatico to the original doors as well as fit and be proportionate to the new openings that are not as big. One of the most important things in any construction and renovation is having a good electrical plan. So I'm lucky because this is my own apartment, but when I'm working with clients, it's a little bit tricky. I know exactly what I want out of my electrical work. And Edouard and I have been working together on developing this plan électrique. C'est très détaillé, no? Lots of details.
C'est très important pour bien faire les travaux.
And actually, I find the electrical work here to be actually quite charming. Believe it or not, they have the most beautiful little toggle switches. I'm going to show you now what we selected for my light switches. But the most important thing is that we're working through today to place all of where my outlets are going to go. And also, when I come into a room, I always love to have a switched outlet. So when I come into the room itself, I can turn the light switch on and all the lamps in the room go on. That's actually a really great part of doing a renovation, is that you can actually include things like that in your work. Take a look at this beauty. This is fantastic. So I wish they had these switches in the US. These are beautiful. I mean, they do have them, but they are very expensive. These are standard issue here, believe it or not. These lovely little toggle switches. They're just so lovely. And look how small the back plates are. They're just made for designers. So we decided that I'm going to use this brushed brass back plate, and these little toggle switches are actually going to be in black. It's going to be great. Oui, c'est bon? Avec le brosset.
Avec des vis.
Oui.
Ce sera plus solide
oui.
Sur cette plaque.
Ouais. Recommandez d'utiliser les vis, oui?
Oui, c'est mieux, c'est plus solide.
Parfait.
En fait, ici, c'est aimanté.
Ouais.
With magnet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so he's explaining to me that this one is actually magnetically installed the back plate onto the switch, and then this one is actually installed with screws, which is actually more traditional. And I'm a huge traditionalist, so we're going to go with the one with the screws. And these are the outlets. Look how cute these are. Aren't these adorable? I think they're just very stylish in a way. They're beautiful. And the way that they do outlets here, that they're actually single outlets. So whenever you need to have two outlets, you have to put them side by side. So in New York, normally we place the outlets in the baseboard molding, which is actually an unusual detail for them here. So I'm actually making them do something a little bit unusual. I'm trying to place my outlet in the baseboard molding. So here is the detail that we're proposing. This is the baseboard cap that's going to go on top. Here's the actual main flat portion of the baseboard, and our outlet will be centered right there, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Et ça va être avec les moulures pour les portières, c'est parfait. So it'll die right up against the moldings of the doorways and the windows. It's perfect.
This will be more big.
Oui.
And maybe like that.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's going to be too much.
No?
I think that's too much, yeah.
9,
Mais si on va faire au milieu, on peut faire jusque là.
Ah, au centre.
Au centre, exact. Okay. So we're talking about the plinth block, which is actually a great detail. It's a very nice architectural detail that terminates the casing molding that frames a doorway or a casing molding. They have them all in every doorway here in France. We rarely see them in the US, but I love the detail. And we're talking about making the plinth block the height of the half of the flat of the baseboard, which will then align with the center line of the outlet. It's all these little details that make the difference in construction. Believe it or not, a visual pleasing detail such as a center line aligning with something is very subtle, but in the end, it will make a big difference. Do you guys remember those fabulous pilasters that I bought in the Paris flea markets? Well,
this is the fun part of design. I'm here in the dining room of my apartment, and they're bringing the actual components and pieces of the pilasters, and we're putting together a pilaster. Alors, est-ce qu'on peut mettre une pièce ici? So if you remember, my ceiling heights are like 1 million feet tall in here. So even though these pilasters are enormous, I have to build these plinths under which these pilasters will sit.
Ici.
Ouais,
c'est ça. Ça va être très joli.
Wow, yeah. Incroyable, no? Voila, here we are in the dining room. So now they're laying out the pilaster, including the capitals, which they had forgotten to measure for when they did the first mock-up sample. This is why it's important to actually make visits to your job site to make sure that they have all the components together. So now they're modifying the base of the pilasters, and they're going to put up the mock-up for us to see, which I can't wait. This is the pièce de résistance for this apartment, that's for sure. Alors, on a modifié la plinth ici, oui. Do you guys remember this little sketch that I did a few weeks back for my library? Well, I have a little surprise to show you. Come on through. So, as the guys are working on the pilasters in the dining room, I want to take you through to the library and show you the pièce de résistance. Look at this. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. If you remember, we found these pair of columns in the Paris flea market, and I designed these columns to go in the opening between the library and the bedroom hallway. Well, here they are. They framed them in for me, and I think they look absolutely spectacular. So, there's a little bit more work to be done here, but how fabulous are these Corinthian columns? We're going to have a casing molding, framing this whole opening. And also, when you look through this opening, we're going to have the doors going into the primary bedroom, which are going to be centered on this opening. I just actually had a 5-hour board meeting to review my plans. Oh, tragique. It was really, really hard. And I really had to fight the battle to get the approval, because this is actually called a mur porteur, which means it's a supporting wall. Thankfully, I hired the right engineer, and he did the right plans, and he showed that the structure actually in the building will be ameliorated, which actually will be better once we put the steel in. It's going to be a little bit strengthened in the end. So everyone was happy, especially me. We got the approval to do our opening. If you guys remember, the fireplace mantle in the library was actually a bit of a conundrum for me. There was an original wooden fireplace mantle here, and it wasn't so nice looking. So I actually went out searching for a new fireplace mantle, and I found one that actually was period to this building. And it actually matches in style and design to the fireplace which is existing in the living room. There's a beautiful white marble fireplace mantle in the living room, and this is actually the style, exact style. And I found this for the library. However, we have a little bit of operation work to do here. N'est-ce pas? On doit faire un peu de coupage ici.
Oui, même tout casser, ce sera mieux, je pense.
Tout cassé, oh boy. That's not good. When your contractor says tout cassé, it means he's going to rip everything out. Oops. Well, anyway, I know that in design it is important to actually get your details right. So we knew from the beginning that because the fireplace has a hearth avec les briques sur le sol,
oui.
On va
enlever ça pour faire un sol au même niveau avec le parquet.
I want to have the floor of the library to be flush with the hearth of the mantle, so that actually required us to remove the bricks that were here anyway. So when he puts the bricks back, he's going to modify the size of the aperture to fit this fabulous antique fireplace mantle, which I also found in the Paris flea market. Isn't it gorgeous? J'aime beaucoup ce.
C'est magnifique.
Oui, c'est magnifique.
Ça va aller très bien avec.
Avec les couleurs, regardez ça, c'est magnifique. So one of my greatest design inspirations was
Henri Samuel. Henri Samuel was actually a French designer who had some beautiful interiors. And one of his rooms was one of the inspirations for this library. I'm going to pull up the picture. So here you go, Henri Samuel's, this was his living room. It was very much a very, very famous room. And this is the room that actually inspired me. C'était mon inspiration pour cette chambre-là, pour les couleurs. Et moi, j'étais très heureux de voir. I was so happy to find a marble that actually has a little bit of that burgundy red color that goes through it. It's amazing.
Après, il nous faut à peu près 15, 14, allez, 20. Yeah. 20, ça serait dommage de voir cette brique ici.
Non, je pense que je vais avoir... si on refait tout ça, on peut faire la brique juste là et puis sur un angle.
D'accord.
Vous savez?
On commence ici.
On commence ici et faire un angle comme ça.
On peut réutiliser ces briques pour la construction.
Oui, exactement. Exactement. So I'm thinking of reusing the bricks that are here because these are beautiful old antique bricks. So when they take this apart, they're not going to demolish and throw it away. They're going to actually reuse the bricks to make a new firebox that actually follows the line of the new fireplace mantle leg. It's going to be perfect, actually.
Yes.
Ça va être parfait, je pense. Oui.
On va casser soigneusement. Après, peut-être qu'on peut mettre aussi des briques à l'intérieur et avoir une pierre noire, c'est ça?
Oui, pierre noire, exactement. Belgique, le nom de New York, c'est Petit Négri.
Ah oui, je vois.
Très, très beau. So we're going to do a hearth on the floor that's going to be solid black. And then the surround is going to actually be modified to come right to the leg of the mantle. So it's going to be perfect. And that is a wow. People, that is a wow. Look at that. Amazing. This pilaster really, really does the trick. I love its relationship to the moldings that are in the living room, in the room next door. The room next door has these very elaborate, crown moldings, and I felt like this room actually lacked the details. So I was so thrilled to find these pilasters in the Paris flea market. I bought 9 of them, and they're really going to embellish this dining room. Just one up already makes such a huge difference. It's amazing. C'est magnifique. Merci bien. Merci. Vraiment.
Avec les 8...
Qu'est-ce que tu penses, Valérie? Oui? C'est bon? C'est bon?
C'était joli.
Oui.
Mais c'est vrai, hein.
Avec les 8 dans la pièce, ça va être assez spectaculaire.
In France, they never actually admit to anything being good. They just say, pas mal. It's like, it's not bad. It's not bad. So you know when somebody says that it's good. Oui, c'est vrai.
C'est vrai.
So we're putting in some casing moldings to frame in these doorways. If you remember, we heightened these doorway openings. We're going to have a casing molding here, and we're going to have a casing molding on this side. And in between, I have this wall paneling, and I have these sconce lights. So, alors pour les appliques, on devrait faire les mesures.
On vous aviez dit que peut-être la baguette commencerait à 14.
Oui, oui.
Et donc l'applique serait à 7. On a la baguette.
Oui, alors, he's going to get me the sample of the molding that we're decided to use here. So this is actually going to be a paneled wall, and I have these sconce lights that are going to flank the paneling. So I want to make sure that we place them quite precisely. Ça va être juste là.
C'est là.
C'est 14.
Ouais, c'est ça, c'est parfait.
14.
Voilà.
Oui, parfait. Et puis après ça, on a combien? 14?
14, on peut se mettre à 7.
Oui, exactement. C'est bon.
À 1m70.
Yeah. Oui. So 5'6" is the height of my sconce lights. I usually place them at 5'6".
Est-ce qu'on reste à 1m70 ou peut-être...
Oui, 1m70.
D'accord.
In French, it's 1m70 centimeters.
On l'a déjà tracé. Elle est ici. Ça, c'est la lumière.
Oui, c'est bon. Oui, parce que ça va en haut.
Voilà.
Oui, c'est bon. C'est bon.
Oui, très chic.
Bon. Et ça, c'est aussi très sympa avec, tout ça, oui.
magnifique.
Wow, wow, vraiment, wow.
Ah, c'est dingue.
Yay, it's coming together. It's coming together.
For dinner.
Yes. You guys might remember at the beginning of our tours of the apartment that the kitchen was the scariest room in the house. Well, I'm happy to say that it's all been demolished and now we can see the space for what it is. Regarde le plafond, c'est magnifique. Magnifique, no? The ceiling was raised by 4.5 feet in here. They had dropped it to an 8-foot ceiling. Who would do that in a 13-foot ceiling space? Who knows? But the design for this space is very particular. The way the kitchen was previously, they had a glass block wall. It wasn't a great execution, but the concept was great. So the idea of letting the light come in through the wall where the bathroom window behind it is actually a huge, beautiful window that lets tons of light in was a great concept. So I designed this wall to be symmetrical and put a large Palladian window in. But this is how, it's so important in design to study things on site because I actually drew this window on my elevation, on my CAD, and now I'm on site and I'm telling my contractor it's a little small. I actually think that the round could be bigger. Ça devrait être un peu plus grand, n'est-ce pas? Tu penses pas? Oui? Un peu plus grand.
6 cm de
oui,
plus.
Exact. So here is my elevation. That was the drawing that I had. And it's going to be quite dramatic. I want to have the kitchen cabinetry sort of cut on a curvature, coming up to the round window, which is going to be fantastic. But I do feel like this ceiling height is so immense that the round circle really needs to be just a touch bigger. Un peu plus?
Un peu
non?
plus.
Penses-tu? Oui.
On va le faire tout à l'heure.
Oui, je pense que oui. Also, the wall of the kitchen was actually shifted over. If you remember, initially the wall of the kitchen lined up with where this corner is here. And this is actually where the bathroom was on the other side. And I didn't feel like the bathroom needed that space, and I felt like the kitchen really could benefit from it. So we reconfigured the space, we pushed the wall back, and this is really part of the reason why it's so important to make site visits during the construction process because, Edouard and I talked on the phone many times discussing exactly where this wall would go, but it was only until I arrived in Paris where we actually laid out exactly where the wall would go, n'est-ce pas? C'était exactement, précisément, on fait la belle position, oui, ouais, c'était excellent. Parfait. I think it's going to benefit the space immensely.
Et c'est parfait pour les meubles hauts,
oui.
Ce qu'ils font en général 38.
Oui, parfait.
Et on va mettre un placo ici et on pourra aligner les meubles hauts.
Parfait. So he's explaining that actually the jog in the wall won't even be perceived after we put the upper cabinets in because the depth of the upper cabinet will swallow that corner up completely. It's actually really perfectly done here. I love it. Ça va être magnifique.
C'est bien ajusté.
Oui. So the center line of the kitchen is going to be this beautiful Palladian window, and I'm going to have the sink centered on that, and I think that that's just going to be the whole composition. Of course, I'm thinking of a fabulous, rich, delicious color coming up. Can't wait to show you. So here we are in the primary bathroom space, and as you can see, the last time we were here, the ceilings had not been demolished yet. So the ceilings in this space were also dropped as they were in the kitchen. They were dropped to an 8-foot ceiling, and just lifting the ceilings made such an enormous difference in the volume of the space. So believe it or not, moving the wall 9 inches into the bathroom, making the kitchen larger, did not affect the space at all because volumetrically we have all this ceiling height. It really is amazing. So in this corner we have the shower, la douche, ça va être là, and then I have my vanity cabinet is actually centered on this Palladian window. If you remember, this is actually the back side of the kitchen where we had that brilliant, beautiful oculus window that goes above the sink. Now, the beauty of this is that the ceilings are so tall that I'm able to place the window high enough that no one can actually see into the space. and you have the beautiful view of the window right through the space, which brings natural light into the kitchen, and nobody really knows that you're looking through the bathroom to see the window. It's perfect. I love it. C'est excellent. And then I will have the vanity that will be centered on this window, which is fabulous, and I have plenty of room here underneath the window for a mirror, which is going to be great, and then a beautiful linen closet in the corner. It's going to be great. The next time we do a walkthrough of this apartment, we're going to see a lot more demolition work of these openings. So a lot of these openings were needed a special approval by the building, and thankfully we've gotten the approval to make these doorways higher. And that's also going to make a huge difference. Yeah, ça va être plus grand et plus grand, très grand hauteur. Ça va être magnifique.
Magnifique, les grandes portes.
Can't wait to see that. That will be coming up on the next episode, j'espère. If you remember, in the primary bathroom space, it actually extended all the way back into that far corner. But this space was actually not well used. So I decided that I would reconfigure it a little bit. And on the other side of this wall, there was a powder room bathroom that was directly off of the entrance foyer. And instead of having it directly off of the entrance foyer, I decided to push it back into this space, which has really great benefits. One, I get a window in the powder room bathroom, which is lovely, because I already have a bathroom window. I don't need two. And the other is that I can actually gain a little closet area as a vestibule between the entrance foyer and the powder room bathroom. We'll go there right now and take a look at that in a minute. But this is where the wall is going to go, separating so the toilet will be in its own little niche, and then there's a wall, and then the bathroom toilet for the powder room is behind it. We'll go around there and take a peek at that now. When you come in from the entrance foyer and you look to the right, you see this magnificent curved window in the living room. This is what actually inspired me for the other end of the hallway. So when you first come in the front door and you look left, you currently see a fixed door, which this looked like it was a pair of doors and one door is fixed. Instead, what I'm going to do is I want to repeat the curvature of the living room bay window by creating a curvature here. One doorway is going to go into a little closet vestibule with the powder room beyond. And then on this side, we're going to have a little opening that goes to the service entrance door. So we come through here, and you can see a little bit of the line of the curvature of the wall here. I drew it on the floor here with Edouard earlier. And it's going to be the little opening here, and have a little closet vestibule. And so this is the back side of the primary bathroom, where this window will bring natural light into this powder room space. It's going to be really lovely. I think it's going to be great. And I'm planning on using a glass frosted door for the powder room so that that will filter some light back into the entrance foyer and the vestibule area as well. Okay, so we're creating this wonderful little curved end to the entrance foyer. But because it's in a bearing wall, it's called a mur porteur, we have to create a little bit of a structure because we're going to put actually a steel beam in to carry the weight. And Edouard and I came up with the idea of putting two of the pilasters that we have from the dining room on the two ends where the curvature will begin and end. It's going to be really, really beautiful. I think it's going to be...
Like that?
Yeah, exactement. So you'll have the same pilaster here, pilaster there, and then the curvature, and this is the same, le même que
le même que dans la salle à manger.
Oui, so it also is a great architectural connection between the entrance foyer and the dining room, which is just adjacent, where they'll both have the same pilaster details. It's really, really a great way to pull things together when you repeat architectural elements from one space to the next. Well, it's never too early to start thinking about your paint colors. And those of you who know my work know that I'm obsessed with color. I'm really, really a colorist. I love my interiors to be full of color and to be layered with lots of color. So I've started by having the contractor prepare a series of samples. Now, color is actually very, very difficult. And I get a question on Instagram every day about somebody asking me about a color of a room. And I always explain to them, I would be doing you a disservice by telling you the actual color of this specific room, because it's always good to know what color you like.
but you have to study your color in different shades and different tonalities in your space because every space is completely different. The light that comes into your room is going to be different from the light that you've seen in a room on Instagram. So even though you know you like that color, I always recommend that you prepare several samples and look at all the different shades. So here we are in my living room. If you guys remember in an earlier episode, we had seen this fabulous door while we were walking on the streets of Paris. And the door actually inspired my room color for my living room. So this is going to be a fabulous turquoisey blue color. I do a lot of blues. I've never really done a turquoisey color. It has a little bit more of a green hint to it. It's going to be a little bit of a step outside my comfort zone. But what I have been doing is I've been coming here in the morning, I've been coming here at midday. I came actually the other day in the early evening because I really wanted to study and see how the color looked in the space at different times of the day. So it's very important, and it's never too early to start studying your colors. Even if you're well under construction and you still have a few weeks, months, probably a few months to go here until we get to painting, it's always really essential to start thinking about what your colors will be. So my generator is always to start with your main room, have a little bit of a color concept. We talked briefly about my library and how that was inspired by an Henri Samuel, his living room, which was a beautiful terracotta, rich red color. And I think that the colors will relate beautifully together, the turquoise in this room and then the red in the other room. I have had a little bit of a struggle with the color of the dining room. So the dining room is the hinge pin to the space. It connects the living room to the library and also touches the entrance foyer. So that's a little bit of a work in progress. They've prepared a few samples for me, and I'm going to do a little bit more thinking about it. So during construction, I think it's absolutely critical to make site visits. I think we got a tremendous amount done today. We met with all the workmen, all the construction people. We saw a lot of things that have come to fruition, things that have been on my drawing board for many months. I'm able to see and envision and actually see them come to life. It's wonderful. I love making decisions. As for color, well, you're going to have to stay tuned for the next episode to see what colors I actually pick, because I'm not quite there yet. What do you think?
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.